Good evening and welcome to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. This is our 162nd take, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studios of Euless, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show, a show 162 takes in the making. I've only used that line like once before, so I think my guest should feel special about that. But this is going to be extra special, and we're going to get into it right away on why it is so special. But before I get into formal introductions, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible, and that, of course, is our sponsors. And tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Recently, Drew Estate announced the unveiling of the new wooden boxes for the Underground brand beginning last month. The new box design looks almost identical to the award-winning current design of the boxes, but the great thing is they have a lot better design to fit more cigars into your humidor, whether that be a great brick and mortars like Michael's or Blue Smoke of Dallas, or your personal humidor at home. So pick up more Underground cigars today, so you can fit some more into your personal humidors. Thanks to Drew Estate and the brand new shelf-friendly boxes for Underground sizes available in the Maduro, Shade, and Sun Grown. So check out those today. Tonight's show is also sponsored by Oveja Negra Brands, 4 unique companies who share a passion to provide innovative cigars for the next generation of cigar enthusiasts. Black Label Trading Company, Blackwork Studio, Dissonant, and Emilio are combining premium tobaccos with an artisanal touch. Oveja Negra, where art and tobacco collide. Join the flock and visit ovejanegracigars.com to learn more. And welcome, everybody. This is our 162nd take, and I'm so proud to introduce tonight's guest of honor, making his first appearance, and we'll explain why in just a moment, on ELOSOFUMARTAKES. Actually, no, he's shaking his head. That's right. It is his second. He had a brief stint on our third anniversary show. Man, fantastic to have back Mr. Jack Torano of Espinosa Cigars. Jack, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I had to wait 162 shows to be an official guest, but I'm doing well.
Fantastic. And already correcting me. I love it, man. No holds barred tonight. No holds barred. I'm so excited to have you on, Jack. This is truly is 162 takes in the making. So I told you right before the show, I said I'm going to fall on my sword immediately, and so I'm going to do it right here.
Okay.
So honest to God, and I mentioned this in here, and I mentioned this to you before once, but it is 100% sincere. The reason I have never asked you to be on this show before is, now I've realized that it was just joking and busting your balls, but everyone told me that you like to go to bed like a normal person at a reasonable hour, and I was being considerate. I didn't want to ask you to do something that was inconsiderate, and here I am, the guy with egg on his face, because
I listen. I appreciate that, and I actually do like to go to bed at a reasonable hour, but I will stay up for you, Bear. And I always used to say that. Listen, I go to bed at 10, try to fall asleep by 11 o'clock, and get up at about 6 in the morning. But there are a few people that I would stay up late for. I was actually surprised on that third anniversary show. I had this all set up back here, and then we were on for like 20 minutes, and I thought I was prepared for like a long night. And even that night when I went to bed, my wife was still awake, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I don't know. It only lasted 20 minutes." She said, "They kicked your ass off the show?" And I said, she's like, "What did you say?" And I said, "I didn't say anything. It was only a quick guest spot. Me and Hector had a quick guest spot."
Well, I'm so honored to have you tonight, Jack. Your story in the cigar industry, which we'll be getting into, is one that I'm incredibly fascinated by. So I'm really excited to share it with our audience. And Jay brings up a good point. The 162 is the last game of the season. So I mean, it's poetic in a way, right? In terms of the baseball. We're both fans of teams that had a long drought between championships, and
your team broke that drought a lot better than my team.
Hey, it's still early, man. It's still early. The Cubs have a good core, and I think I think they got some real great players in place and some good young talent coming up too. So I think they're good for at least the next few years and everything. So my team, although has taken that downward turn, and we're going to take our turn in the cellar because we're terrible.
I'm going to try to this year. I'm going to try to plan one of my trips to Boston when my buddy, the umpire, Laz Diaz, is doing the Yankee 4-game series with the Red Sox and the Yankees in Fenway. And I'm going to try to figure out a way to get to be there for one of those games. Fenway's a bucket list stadium for me. I've been outside of Fenway, but I've never seen a game there. So
I went on a Fenway tour in the dead of winter. That's my only Fenway experience.
yeah.
So I have not
Well,
been to a
if
game
you
yet.
meet me there, I can get free tickets.
I was gonna say you know Las Diaz.
Las Diaz is a good friend. As a matter of fact, Hector was dying to go to a Mets spring training game a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, dude, but they're like forcing me to buy 6 tickets or something. I said, I'll drive up there with you. We'll call Laz. He goes, Laz can get us tickets for a spring training game. I said, Laz can get us tickets for anything. And I called Laz, and there it is. We had 2 tickets, and Hector and I went up there, and it was like taking my son to a baseball game. Hector was like a kid in a candy store. He couldn't have been happier. He had his Mets gear on, and we saw DeGrom pitch, and Pete Alonso hit a home run, and we had a really good time. I didn't realize how far that damn the Mets play halfway to Orlando. I mean, it was an all day, nearly half the night affair to go to the spring training game, but we had a real good time. We got a funny picture of Hector in a gigantic Adirondack chair that I think we're gonna make magnets out of, so, and pass those around like the flat Koopy.
The Mr. Warmth, relaxing
the Mr. Warmth. Yeah.
Oh man, I desperately want to go to a baseball game with Hector. I think that would just be. I think we'd both be that way. We would just both be just wide-eyed the whole time and everything. I think it's. I've always felt, until I met Hector and Coop and a couple of the guys that we have like on our baseball thread, like, I just thought that I was still just a child. Just enjoying a game with that kind of child, well, like Augment, but I'm realizing that there are people that still don't grow out of it too, which is.
Hector
nice.
is a student. He is a student of the game. I mean, he knew he might have been he should have been a scout for the Mets. I think. I mean, it was cool sitting there with him. And I'm not a Mets fan. I know the stars. He told me I was excited when I found out, and he had planned it. He wanted to go to that game because he knew DeGrom was pitching. And that dude is incredible. I mean, his first pitch was 101, threw an off speed at 95. It was incredible to see. And, and Pete Alonso was just hammering the ball. But position players, we got to the 7th inning and they started putting in players with like number 77 and 79. And Hector's like, we can go. These guys, we can go. And it was strange. It's an 11,000, 10,000 seat stadium. I think they only allowed 2,000 people in there, but it was a Tuesday afternoon. I'm telling you, if there were 500 people spread out through this stadium, it was crazy to see that. It was like being at a high school game. We had almost an entire section to ourselves.
Wow. Yeah. Well, hopefully as the year goes along, we'll start seeing more and more full stadiums. Arlington, the new Globe Life Park or whatever is apparently allowing full capacity. Who knows if they'll actually fill it, but they're allowing full capacity starting with the season. So
I heard going to basketball a little. Miami Heat are opening up sections to fully vaccinated people. So that which again, I told you in the pre-show, I got my second shot this morning, but other than that little. I mean, you don't have an ID that says I'm vaccinated. You didn't get that little like I voted thing. You don't get anything. So,
they're handing out stickers in Texas. So,
were they? I didn't get a sticker.
They need to do that in Florida too.
I got a blue Band-Aid. Oh, look, it's falling off. But I got a blue Band-Aid. No, I guess I'm all good. It's just the Band-Aid's falling off. I'm all good.
There you go. So, Jack, before we kind of kick things off here, I wanted to just talk about what we're smoking, because we're both lighting up the same cigar.
Yes.
This is a cigar that you were kind enough to get to me, and I was really excited about it because I didn't think I would be able to smoke it, so I really appreciate the opportunity. But this is the 4-Star Society that's made exclusively for Benny's Beverage Depot in your adopted hometown of Chicago.
In Chicago. Yeah. I wish I could tell you that it was my doing, but it's Richie Riot. Richie Riot is the man behind that with Jack Spethman from Benny's, and I mean, Richie had worked with him before, and when he came over, they started working on some new ideas. And last year we released the Expo, and in a 10-count bundle, and that did really well. The Espinosa fans, Jack Spethman was like shocked that at the amount of calls that came in. He was mailing those things all over the country, and he's like, this is crazy. Espinosa fans they come out for their cigars. So then they'd always wanted to put one in a box. So Richie and Anthony and Jack designed Anthony, as our graphics designer, designed a real nice box for the 4-Star Society. And like I was telling you in the pre-show, if you're a fan of Murcielago, I think, Hector played with it a little bit, but the nucleus is that Murcielago blend. It's got a little Hector flavor to it, but it's a phenomenal cigar. And Richie actually bought 3 boxes, and I've been smoking through most of them, but Richie did a great job with this. And there'll be other things coming from Binny's. They've actually become a real good partner of ours. So I was happy to get that to you.
Well, very much enjoying it thus far. I know I just lit it up, but there's this real nice rich nuttiness to it. On the wrapper, it's got some nice sweetness. There's some really good balance, and of course it's got that quintessential, signature, that Espinosa spice right through the retrohale. But it's not like really strong. It's not like the Habano or like the Murcielago like you were talking about. It's a little bit more faint on the spice, but it's there. Like it's like that. It's got that Espinosa kick to it, which I like. We'll get to the cigars that I like here in a few, because I have a point to make about that. But just really liking this so far. So thank you for the opportunity. So
I put together a bunch of cigars for you, and I tried to get things that I think I put some Lanceros in there that you might not get. That some of the 601 Gold I put in there. Some of the things, because you smoked through the whole portfolio. So I went in the humidor and I tried to find things comfortably numb, things that we don't distribute, but we have around because of La Zona Palooza.
Yeah, I got the 601 Gold, and then the 601 Snakebite, which I've actually never smoked that. So, since you brought it up again, thank you so much. It was very generous cigars that I got to choose from for tonight, and we'll be enjoying even after this the show is sunsetted. But to that point, I was gonna bring up the fact that I mean this absolutely sincerely. It's going to sound like a backhanded compliment. It really doesn't. I really promise it's not. So Hector and you all know at Espinosa like how much I really obviously the 2017 cigar of the year for me was the Espinosa Habano. I love that cigar. And there's a couple of others in the portfolio where I'm over the moon about. And Hector's given me a bunch of cigars one time, and Eric gave me a bunch of cigars one time, and you gave me this latest collection too. And each time you guys give me cigars that I haven't either vitolas or cigars that I haven't tried before, and y'all never put Habano in there. And I mean this as a compliment, because it's like you know that I love it. So you kind of open me up to other opportunities within the portfolio. And I like I said, it sounds like a backhanded compliment. I'm being sincere. It's really cool that y'all, like each of y'all individually do that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about these other cigars, like the Snakebite I've never actually had. So, and you actually gave me, the only opportunity I had to smoke the 20th anniversary that y'all did was given to me by you. And I really enjoyed that cigar as well.
That was a good one. And, again, that was always meant to be limited, the 20th year anniversary, and I think we're, you got to talk to Hector about that. But I hope that blend comes back in another in another form at some time, because I absolutely love the 20th anniversary.
It was really good. So I know we're going to talk a little bit more Espinosa in a second, but I have to ask this specifically just because I really like the story behind the project, and I know it's Eric Jr.'s baby, so I don't want to necessarily step on his toes. And if you can't talk about it, that's fine. But is the Las Seis Provincias making a return for its third?
It is the third Las Villas. Las Villas is scheduled for the IPCP or PCA this year, so it'll be a July release. And Junior and Anthony, and they designed this another incredible box. Each cigar will come in its own coffin, hand painted. I mean, it's insane what they're working on for the third round here. So listen, it would have been out last year. There were no trade shows. That the Se Provincia, because of the packaging it comes with, sort of needs that trade show release. It's not just, it needs to be seen. So with no trade shows last year, the TPE, we did the TPE in January, which is the last show anybody did last year. It was too soon. We couldn't put it out for that. But so we kind of decided to not put it out last year, let Junior and Anthony continue to work on, just tightening up the ideas they had. And it's going to be incredible. I mean, we can't wait. The cigar we've smoked, and it's phenomenal. And it's a Habano, so you're gonna be happy.
Absolutely. I'm stoked. No, I'm really glad you all decided to do that, because by delaying it a year, just because I completely agree with you, spot on. It's one of those, it's a project that really needs the showcase of it. And
yeah.
There's cigars. I mean, we can sit probably here and probably name for hours, but there's cigars that are just packaging and everything. But this truly is one of those projects that really is, from head to toe, just lights out, and has been for the two first editions of it. So really excited for this third one. We're halfway through. The series.
We're I mean, I know Eric is proud of the work his son has done on this, and the work Hector has done with these blends, and working with Junior, and we teased out the new blend. What we did do last year was, I believe, the last Espinosa Elite box.
Oh, is that it?
We teased it out.
Oh, okay. Well, so I've had it, and that, yeah. Oh,
it's
nice.
In there with a factory band. It says Se Provincia. It didn't say Las Villas on it, but that's what it is.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering what that was. I didn't know if it was like a special size of like MTZ. It didn't taste like MTZ, but
no, that was the teaser out there.
Nice. Well, that's good. It was very good. So really, really excited about that. So, but Jack, I wanted to, that kind of brings us into tonight's major point, which is our major point is always brought to you by Barracoa Cigar Company. Barracoa is back. It's getting ready for the relaunch of the Voyage on April 10th. I personally can't wait for the cigar to come back. It's been over 3 years, but now with a revamped blend coming out of one of the hottest factories in the industry, Danny Vasquez promises if you like the original blend, you're absolutely going to love the relaunch. So it all starts on April 10th. You can do your pre-orders now at suncigars.com. That's suncigar.com. Stay tuned for more details on how you can enjoy the Voyage further, and never settle. Barracoa Cigar Company. So Jack, I've mentioned it. This will be my third time saying this, but I really am I'm really excited to talk to you and share with my audience your story. It's something I'm incredibly fascinated with. I just think it has, I mean, it really is kind of a saga in itself. This romantic relationship that you've had with the cigar industry, and it is a true romance. It's a roller coaster. It's had its ups and downs, heartbreaks, and triumphs, and it's just been, it's been awesome. So I mean, kind of want to start at the beginning. I was really excited till I recently learned, and so this is kind of interesting how small the cigar world is, and how things kind of come full circle. Your father, along with other members of your family, actually worked for the Coleman family, so AKA General Cigar, back in the 60s.
Back in the 60s, my father, my grandfather, and one of my half brothers worked for them in the 60s. So
what exactly did they do?
I don't know. I don't know. Something, listen, when my family started in Cuba in 1916, we were growers and brokers of tobacco leaf. So I believe that role was what they were doing in general. They were kind of out there sourcing tobacco. We were developing farms, and my father went to Nicaragua. My uncle, Carlos Torano, Charlie's grandfather, my dad's brother, went to the DR, and we continued growing tobacco and starting farms. And you look at the history of tobacco in Nicaragua, you'll see Jaime Toraño, which is my father. And you look at the history of tobacco in the DR, you'll see Carlos Toraño, his brother. So, I know Charlie likes to I've heard Charlie tell the story before, but in the 60s, after the revolution and when everything settled down and the Toraños left, if there was tobacco being grown somewhere in the world, Brazil, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, there was a Toraño working in the industry in that in one form or another. So my family goes back to a pretty rich history of the beginnings of tobacco in the United States. So
this is the 105th year. 105th year Toraño has been working in the premium cigar industry.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. So this is basically like a silly question. And I've always wanted to ask this, and is your name John or is it Jack? Were you named Jack or were you named
Jesus?
Jesus. Okay. So
not
even close.
My mom, I can tell you that for the better part of the beginning, probably till I was 30, 35 years old, not even my closest friends knew that my legal name was Jesus. And all through high school, I was Jack. And my mom wanted to name me Jesus. And my dad was like, listen, I don't care what you name him. I'm calling him Jack. And listen, nothing against Jesus, but thank the lucky stars, Jack's the one that stuck. But, listen, as a tribute to my mom, I would never change my legal name. And all my licenses, credit cards, passports, they all say Jesus. But it's Jack that everybody.
Jack.
I remember when people started getting around that my name was Jesus, I had high school friends who were like, "What? What the hell are you talking about?" I was like, "Yeah,
Who's Jesus?
I didn't have to show ID in high school." But you would think it would be Joaquin or something like that, but no.
Yeah, I don't know why I've always wanted to know. It just Jack is kind of had this resurgence in today's. People are actually naming their sons Jack, not Jackson, not John, and calling them Jack, but actually naming them Jack. And you're not old by any stretch, and I'm not blowing smoke at you, but it's the Jack.
The
name.
hipsters have taken a liking to Jack.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, so going back to the 60s, and then your father and going back to 1916 as we talked about. So this goes until obviously your direct family until 1974, when unfortunately your father actually passed away when you were 14. What did that actually mean for your family, your household, let's put it that way, in the cigar industry? Did it kind of end right there for a moment?
It ended. So basically, like, listen, Charlie and I are cousins. Charlie's dad and I are first cousins, but we really didn't grow up together. And there was a time when my dad died, and listen, 4 years before my dad died, Charlie's granddad Carlos died. It was a very famous story about how he died in the DR. He had a heart attack and died in the DR. But tobacco, cigars, that just left my side, the Toraño side. And it was 13 years old. And I think if my dad would have lived till I was 18, 19, 20, this probably would have been what I did my whole life. But it just disappeared from it. So, I lost the father figure, and I lost any touch to the cigar industry for the time being. Even though my grandfather on my mom's side was in the cigar in the tobacco industry, and I ended up going to work with him in the 80s. I just, every day I would see my dad smoking cigars, that just disappeared. That just one fell swoop that went away. So it was out of sight, out of mind, and then it was just a struggle to get through high school, to get through, and my mom struggled with his death, and it was a rough time back then.
So,
And then the Toraños are a feuding bunch. So there was a lot of feuding going on in the Toraño family. And me as a 13-year-old, I wasn't involved in that, but I was collateral damage. You know, the adults now, you know, were my nieces and nephews that from my dad's first marriage that we all grew up together. They left us. We didn't see each other for years. So it was, you know, we were all victims of adults fighting. So
it's so unfortunate.
yeah.
The I think I think that's the interesting, if you can call tragedy interesting. I think that's the interesting tragedy of and byproduct of the Cuban Revolution is that, you know, families, you know, were forced to either stay or split after the Exodus. Not to be too punny with your with your family cigar lines, with the cigar from your family's line, but that families were split like that. I mean, some went to the DR, some went to Nicaragua, some came to the United States. I mean, just fleeing for something, a better opportunity, a better life, to continue what was just stolen from them. It just unbelievable. Just a quick offshoot here. I thought this was interesting. One of our audience members, Orlando, who's a big fan of the show and everything, he was wondering if your grandfather knew his grandfather. His grandfather was the mayor of Pinar del Rio in Artisma. Where do you remember?
Listen,
which part?
I didn't know my grandfather.
Oh, okay.
I knew my grandfather on my mom's side, but my grandfather that started everything, Santiago Toraño, in 1916, he passed away long before I was born. So I never got to meet my dad's father. My dad may have known him, but again, he passed away in 74, and but you know, every once in a while, I get to talk to people that knew my dad. That there are very few of them, you know, mostly in the 80s and stuff, that people would come and they remembered my dad, and it was a good nostalgic moment to hear stories of my father, and it's just a crazy time.
It's always, that still has happened to me. Like when I've gone back home and I've run into people that my grandmother, because my grandmother had this amazing life and she affected a lot of people, and there's still people that will come up to me and say, yeah, I knew your grandmother and she did this for me and all this other stuff. In fact, in her latter years, my grandmother worked at a flea market to support herself, and she met all kinds of people, as you can probably imagine. And I remember her telling stories about this one guy that always had a booth next to her and everything. And I had a conversation with him years later via Facebook, of all things, and he was telling me about how how my grandmother, who was not wealthy by any stretch, and paid the hospital bill when his oldest son broke his arm, and she paid for the hospital bill because they couldn't afford it, and he obviously needed a cast and things like that. And you know,
how old were you when your grandmother passed away?
About the same age that you were when you're
so it is cool to hear stories like that, because you know, I got to hear a lot of stories of my father and things that he did after he passed away that I didn't know about it. And you know, and people aren't going to come and tell you any bad stories. They're going to tell you the great stories that he did.
Of course.
It's really cool. You know, I haven't gotten your dad was a scumbag. I haven't gotten that story, but they tell you these really cool stories. And again, that's gone by the wayside, and it's been a long time now. But in that generation that knew my father, unfortunately they're gone too. So yeah. But it's cool to hear, you know, Ernesto Carrillo, when I worked with my grandfather, and he used to come to the warehouse to buy tobacco, and him and my grandfather had a great relationship, father, son, and my grandfather. And I remember I was walking, I believe it was Seafest one year, and I'm walking toward Ernesto Carrillo, and he stops me and he says, you know, when I see you walking, I see your grandfather. And I was like, wow, that's it. My grandfather was the same type of guy. We had the same hair. He passed away at 92 years old in his sleep, worked till the day he passed away. And it's great to you know, it was very touching when he said that to me, you know, because I'd love to be, you know, just to have a little bit of him in me, and for him to say, you know, the way you walk, the way you carry yourself is very much like your grandfather. And it was very cool.
He must have been a character. 'Cause, you know, my wife knows nothing about this industry, and so it's funny when I tell her about the guests that I have on my show, and so I'm trying to just like either tell her a little bit of a backstory, and so she was asking me, she's like, who's on tonight, and I was telling her, and you know, a little about your family, a little bit about your background, and I was like the thing I'm really looking forward to, and the thing that I just really enjoy about you in general so much is that you just have this larger than life personality. I mean, that's used so much, especially in this industry. That's kind of tossed around so much, but you really embody that. So I imagine if Ernesto thought that of your grandfather, I can only imagine what kind of a personality he had.
Yeah. He was a character. Every Saturday he'd go. There's a Spanish restaurant here back in the 70s and 80s, the Centro Vasco, and my grandfather would get a ride to the Centro Vasco every Saturday morning, get blasted drunk, and then get a ride home every Saturday. Every Saturday. He was quite the character. Quite the character.
Responsible getting the ride though.
Oh yeah. He never drove. He didn't drive.
Oh.
But he never drove a car. 91 years old, never drove a car.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He had no interest in driving. He would have loved Uber. he would have been one of the first ones with an Uber account.
Born a generation too early, man. It's looking down on you now. It's like, where was I? Gosh, where was this when I was? Yeah. So that's of course you're speaking of Andres Lopez.
Andres Lopez.
Your grandfather on your mother's side, and that's who you went to work for, like you said, in the 80s. You dealt in loose leaf tobacco, so you weren't making cigars, but you were brokering tobacco on Calle Ocho, right, Miami.
On 8th Street. You know, the moniker Calle Ocho is really from probably 5th or 6th Avenue to 27th Avenue. We were on 57th Avenue. So we were on 8th Street, but outside of Calle Ocho itself. Of where you see, you know, everybody that comes down here and wants to go to Calle Ocho, they go down east of 27th Avenue, and that's where all the little factories are and all the cool little shops are, and that's the little Havana feel. But we were just outside of that.
So you mentioned him a moment ago, but that was when I was learning a little bit about your history. I learned that Ernesto Perez Carrillo and his father were clients of yours.
Yeah. They used to come. It's all the time. I mean, I mean, at that time, the tobacco industry was really something your grandfather was doing, and they were dying off, and it was a dying industry, the cigar industry, and you know they would come and buy 10 pounds of tobacco, 5 pounds of tobacco, 20 pounds of tobacco, you know, and they were really they weren't sourcing a lot of tobacco back then, you know, and cigars weren't selling the way till the boom hit. So, you know, and in my divine wisdom, I got out right before the boom.
We're gonna get into what you were doing during the boom days here in just a second, but like that, you know, 5-10 pounds of tobacco. I mean, that's all that amount is laughable today.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was very much a reality
we had a probably 10,000 square foot warehouse, and it had bales and bales of tobacco that would come in, and we, you know, very few and far between would people come in and say, give me a bale of this, a bale of this, a bale of this. It was, you know, I need 20 pounds of this, 10 pounds of this. It was definitely, people weren't needing 110-pound bales. You know,
it's like you were a butcher instead of wholesale.
Yeah. And then we had an old guy in the back, Ricardo. Ricardo is quite the character. I mean, this guy was 70 something years old and he's stacking bales 5 high. And I'm like, how the hell is this guy doing? Was the talent that this man had, and he'd prepare everything. It's totally like a butcher shop. You know, they'd come in, they'd sit with my grandfather, talk to my grandfather, and you know, I was new to the business. I was handling the books. I was handling, you know, receivables. I was you know, ordering whatever we needed and stuff like that. I didn't know anybody, and nobody knew me. But they'd come in, place an order. My grandfather, you know, would write it down on this little piece of paper and give it to Ricardo. And Ricardo would go by and get it all together. And while he was doing that, they'd have a cigar, shoot the shit. We'd just sit around talking, and then Ricardo would come out with, you know, their order. It was a crazy. And then my grandfather would hand select certain leaves and give them to Ernesto Carrillo. And then Ernesto would bring him a couple of bundles of cigars of this stuff. My grandfather, unbanded bundles, just, you know, and that's what my grandfather would keep them there. And his special friends got his cigar, you know, and it was always different. It was whatever he liked that came in. He would, I'm sure he would have been an amazing blender, but that's what he would do. He would, you know, here's the wrapper, here's the binder, here's the filler, and he'd give it to Ernesto. And then a week later, here'd come 2 bundles for my grandfather. So,
I heard you say that in an interview that he would have been a hell of a blender just because he was just so good at picking out the individual tobacco as they came in.
It's amazing. I mean, that old guard, the eye that they had for tobacco was crazy. You know, it was pretty interesting to, you know, that went on for about 5 years. And like I said, I mean, my grandfather passed away. Me and my cousin kept the warehouse going for another 2 years, and there was no need anymore. We were eating money. So.
We're gonna get. I know you're a movie buff. We're gonna get into movies here in a little bit, but have you ever seen the movie Marty, Academy Award-winning Ernest Borgnine?
Yes.
Old, yeah. So he, you know, obviously he plays a butcher in the film. And at the opening scenes, he's in the butcher shop, and I just, oh God, I just, every time I see it, my mouth just waters. And the fact that what he says, he cuts these beautiful pork chops for the first lady that he's serving, and he's like, "That'll be $1.73, Miss Missouri. Would that sound okay to you?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah, that sounds incredible.
It's not even going to buy you one of those now, like a half of one. Oh God. And some of the pricing on the back wall of the opening scene, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that would just kill for that. So you, like you said, you kept it going for a couple years after your grandfather's death, 92 years young. And so, I mean, was there a sale involved, or was it just the closing of the doors? I mean,
closing of the doors.
So,
you know, we got rid of the tobacco we had, and it was a blur. The end of that was a blur.
So how old were you? 22, 23?
26, 27 when that all ended. 26, 27, 28. Yeah.
So when you shut the doors at age 26, so if you could go back to Jack Toraño at 26 years old, did you think you would ever be coming back to the tobacco industry? Or
no, I thought the industry was dead. I thought the industry's dead. I probably didn't smoke another cigar for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
You know, I was just, this is kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And it was just, you know, the passion that I developed when I came back to work for the family in 2011, I never thought I would have that passion. I mean, I had it when I was working with my grandfather. When he passed away, there was a lot of confusion and a lot of, you know, my grandfather at that age was still the nuts and bolts of that business, you know, and when he left, you know, when he left this world, it was tough. It was tough to move on after that. So it was a struggle for a couple of years, and then we just shut it down. And I thought, this is it for that. You know, I gave this a shot, and I was pretty much lost for a couple of years. I think I went to work at Airborne Express. If anybody remembers Airborne Express, they were, you know, FedEx's competitor at the time, that were bought out eventually by by somebody. I don't remember who bought them out, but I worked for them for about 5 years before going to Chicago.
So fast forward to Chicago. So you end up in the Windy City,
I end
and
up in
what a crazy. So you go from dealing loose leaf tobacco, working in the shipping industry for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're in. I mean, you become Jesse from Full House. You start writing some jingles.
Well, I didn't write any jingles. I didn't get to write any jingles. I don't have that skill set. My brother does. My brother. Yeah, to his credit, he came to Miami, and I used to go to Chicago once or twice a year to see him all the time, spend time with him. And my brother's great musician. One of his big hit songs from 1979 just got sampled on this new track that's playing everywhere. But anyways, he came to Miami and he said, listen, again, I'm working at Airborne Express. There really is no future there. I'm kind of lost. And he's like, listen, you're spinning your wheels here in Miami. I had no relationship at the time. Me and my girlfriend had broken up a couple of years earlier. I was literally, doing nothing but punching a card and going to work. And he said, I'm going to open a recording studio, and I'm going to open a jingle house. And I want you to come and run this for me. And I remember thinking, I thought I'd never leave Miami. And I was like, are you out of your mind? I'm not going to Chicago to live in Chicago. I'm not going to Chicago. And then like 2 days later, and I talked to some of my friends here, they're like, you're crazy. Take this opportunity, something different. It doesn't work out, you can always come back. But and 14 years I spent in Chicago. And the working with my brother was an incredible opportunity, and all the people I got to meet and all the campaigns I got to work with and alongside and watch that. I got to sing on some commercials. I got to so it was I sang on a Captain Crunch, on a Velveeta commercial. We did my brother wrote the song, and every song for Real Men of Genius came through our jingle house. And that's one of the most successful campaigns in the history of advertising. The awards that it started as Real American Heroes, then transitioned after 9/11 to Real Men of Genius. And that campaign went on for 13 years. Every one of those tracks came through our studio. So, wow. And I'm still friends with all the guys that the true writers of that. They would come in with the nucleus of this, but they came in as a pitch. Hey, we're thinking of doing this little thing, and my brother said, I got it. We'll get one of the lead singers of Journey and this voiceover, and they wrote the song, and we didn't think it would go anywhere. And dude, that thing just blew up, and I think we did about 250 of those commercials, and only about 100 of them saw the light of day. So there's a stockpile of Real Men of Genius commercials out there that they should release one day.
I kind of said it a little joking, tongue in cheek there a second with Jesse from Full House, but I mean, at the time, when that show was popular, and that was just before you got into the business. I mean, the jingle business, if done right, it was incredibly lucrative and
incredible. I mean, I literally sang the word Velveeta on a commercial and made $25,000 in 13 weeks just from doing that.
Oh my goodness.
The amount of money that was being made in that and was insane. At Captain Crunch commercials and I did some backgrounds on some Bud Light commercials, and the amount of money was crazy. It was crazy the amount of money you could make. And it all started, my brother was, he had a hit song in the 79, but he was basically a struggling musician. And he went to Chicago in like 1986. And a buddy of his asked him, hey, can you play on this track for a commercial? He's a guitar player. And he said, sure. And he went to the studio and he played. And while he was there, the guy said, you're a singer, right? And my brother said, yeah. And he said, why don't you give it a shot, sing the lead track for this commercial? And And I think it was like a Gatorade commercial. My brother made a fortune off of that. And he goes, why am I struggling in the music industry when I can do this? And it was like, it opened a whole new door for him, you know. And he had the recording studio was, we built 3 different recording studios. And
oh wow,
and it was a lot of fun.
So this is going to sound really weird, but I'm a big fan of Budweiser and their advertising, and Bud Light, just because I think they're geniuses, and so I've followed the trends throughout the years and everything. So when you said Bud Light, that sparked me. Do you recall what the commercial was? Do you remember the theme of it?
Of Bud Light commercials?
Of the Bud Light you did? Yeah.
We did like 30 of them.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We did all the Cedric the Entertainer ones.
Oh my gosh, those were so good.
Yeah, we did all the music for the Cedric the Entertainer, and there was one Super Bowl that we did the music for 5 of the commercials that were on that year in the Super Bowl. So you know, wow. McDonald's, Food, Folks, and Fun. There was a big McDonald's campaign called Food, Folks, and Fun, and my brother won awards for that. I mean, that was just before I had moved to Chicago. And then the money from that is what opened the recording studios. So, but Bud Light, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, we probably did 30, 40, 50 of them. I mean, one day that we're sitting around, I'll go on YouTube and I'll start playing them for you, and you'll go, shit, that was you guys? You know, what's the name of the guy, the actor from Hurt Locker? You know, he got his start.
Jeremy Renner or Anthony Mackie?
Jeremy Renner got his start on a Bud Light commercial.
Right, because he's actually a musician. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, he's a singer and
but he was an actor in I don't remember what the spot was called, but it was his buddy's apartment had a bouncer guarding his refrigerator.
Right. Yes.
And Jeremy Renner, when we did the music for that commercial.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And I remember they came back from that shoot. And they were like, "Oh, we met this really cool guy," and then Jeremy Renner blows up. You know, and then he got his start in that Bud Light commercial. So,
oh man, that's unbelievable. Jack, you kidding around? We're gonna do that. We're gonna sit around you, Toe. That's awesome. That's a really cool story. So
I believe the Scandal. It's Scandal Music was the name of the studio. And I believe the scandalmusic.com website is still up, and it has a ton of those commercials on there. So that we did.
So much like the what we're going to talk about with the cigar industry. This was the boom for the jingle industry during this time. Yeah. And then all of a sudden this guy who creates this site named Napster comes around and just blows everything up for everybody.
Well, you know, it was kind of odd to see the way the jingle business was evolving. Like, we would hire, when I first got there in the mid 90s, and we had the studio, we had to do we'd have to do music for a certain spot, and I'd go through and we had to hire a horn section, or we had to hire we had a keyboard player in house, and we had my brother a guitar player, but we'd have to hire a bass player, a drummer, or this and that. And little by little, a string section. Little by little, samples of these string sections were getting better and better and better. And I think the string section was actually the first one that we saw. Like, we really don't need to hire these people anymore, because, you know, the Pro Tools or the Garage Band or whatever the hell we have, nobody can tell the difference between a live string section and this for a jingle.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of started losing work. And then, you know, the horn section started losing work. And little by little did we know that we were at the end of that. You know, the way music was evolving, and bands, we talked about it briefly before, in the 70s and 80s, if a band sold their music to a commercial or to Lincoln, to Cadillac, to anything, they were sellouts. Well, when they stopped selling CDs, they all of a sudden, you know, it didn't cost $500,000 to license a Led Zeppelin song. They were doing it for, you know, 20 grand. Some, you know, Casey and the Sunshine Band's hit song you could get for $15,000 for a 13-week run on TV. and that killed original music for commercials. And now you just sit back and watch, and it's one hit song after another as you watch commercials. A lot of people don't watch commercials anymore because they got the DVR and they fast forward through them. Mm-hmm. But if you took the time to watch them, it's one hit song after another. It doesn't have to be a 70s hit. It's current hits. It's current songs before they become hits. They become hits because some of these Apple commercials, the songs become hits because they were on Apple commercials.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that changed the whole nature of the industry. And
I was gonna say, you were telling me before the show that how Moby kind of started that. Moby started selling his stuff before he would release
his entire album. There was one album that he sold the entire album to advertising before that album was released to the public. And once that happened, we went from billing in the millions to half of that to, so the jingle business didn't become sustainable for a studio full of people working there. It became, actually I went on to manage a Frank Sinatra bar. My brother, I would go to the studio if we had work, but I didn't have to be there every day anymore. So I started, a buddy of mine said, I got this, a buddy of mine was the GM at Jilly's on Rush Street. And he said, listen, I need an assistant manager. And I said, hell, I'll do it. It was like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. And so I was working. There were some days that I was working 9 to 6, 7 o'clock in the studio, and then going home, changing, going and working till 5 in the morning in the Jilly's bar.
Oh my gosh.
And but I was having a great time. It's a lot younger.
I was gonna say, I can see why you like early bedtimes now. My goodness, I'm just exhausted thinking about it.
And then when the jingle business went away, I was working at Jilly's 5 nights a week. So really, I was getting home at 5 o'clock in the morning, sleeping most of the day. So now I love waking up at 6 and enjoying the day. There were entire days that hundreds of them that I missed back then.
Goodness.
No.
So this obviously took, like you said, took the turn, and so now the jingle business is down and out. Does your brother still have the recording studio, or did you have to?
No, he's got the building. He bought the building. He's got the building. He leased it out to another recording company, and they moved out right as COVID started hitting. They bought themselves out of the lease. So right now, the first floor, my brother has a beautiful apartment on the second floor. It's on Madison in Madison Avenue in Chicago, Madison Street, and there's nothing happening downstairs. So, but he's sitting on a building worth a lot of money because he bought it back in 97, 98. So,
wow.
So eventually he'll sell it, but no, that's. I mean, he hung on to it for a while. I mean, it was still a studio 3 years ago.
Wow. So fast forward to 2010, 2011, and you come back to the cigar industry.
Yeah. So in 2010, my half brother, Ruli Toraño, who was the vice president of sales and marketing for Univision, he passes away. At the time he was, I think, 68 years old. He gets sick and he passes away, and we come down to the funeral. This is May of 2010, and at that time, CAO, if you remember, in 2000, somewhere near December of 2008, going into 2009, Toraño gave the distributorship of the brand to CAO.
Right.
So the brand was dying a horrible death. I mean, it just wasn't working out. And Carlos, the father, my cousin, Charlie's dad, at that funeral pulls me off that. And mind you, I got nothing going on in Chicago other than the fact that I love Chicago. I got nothing going on there. I mean, the Jilly's thing is over. I'm floating around and trying to figure out what I'm going to do next in life. And Carlos pulls me off at that funeral and he says, listen, we're taking the distributorship back. Now's the time for you to come back to work. And I was like, he said, stay in touch. And I said, yep, I will. Went back to Chicago and forgot all about And not till Ceci, who Jay Davis said hi to, 3 months later, I go to a high school reunion, and I knew Ceci in high school. I was dating her best friend. And not till Ceci comes into my life, and she's going through a divorce. Me and my girlfriend are breaking up at the time. We're both kind of in limbo. We kind of started talking at that high school reunion, and she told me her plans. Her plans were to move back to Miami. And, all right, that's cool. And we kept talking on social or on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, that type of shit. I don't know, IMs. I don't know what the hell it was back then. and we would keep in touch on that. And it started blossoming. And I started thinking, man, if she's moving back to Miami, I want to be with her. Now Miami became an idea. And I remember going to pick up the phone to call my cousin Carlos, and I dialed the number of Toraño Cigars, and I used to talk to them all the time anyways, because the recording studio had a humidor full of Toraño cigars. And I said, you know what? I plan to be in Miami in 3 weeks. I'm not going to call. I'm just going to show up at the office. And the funny thing is that I found out later is at that time, the guy that was handling marketing for Toraño, Oliver Himes. I don't know if you know Ollie. Ollie works for Altadis now.
Yeah. Went to Gurkha for a while.
He went to Gurkha.
Yeah.
He had just a week after I would have made that phone call, he told Charlie and his father that he was leaving the company to go work for Gurkha because he wanted to work with his dad. He had never worked with his dad. And they were like, holy shit, what the hell are we going to do? And then 2 weeks later, out of nowhere, I knocked on the door. Hey, I'm here to see if you guys have a job for me. And Charlie told me afterwards, dude, if you would have made that phone call, we would have been like, yeah, we want him to come here, but where the hell are we going to do with him? But since you waited, we had the job waiting for you. So it all like fell into place. And I mean, Charlie said to me, how long are you going to be in Miami? And I said, I'll be here about a week. And he said, all right, let me put some thought into this, and I'll call you tomorrow. And I was on a golf course the next day, and Charlie called me. He goes, all right, here's the offer. When can you be in Miami? And I said, 3 weeks. Give me 3 weeks. I'll go close everything up, and I'll be right back. He goes, all right, take your time, but you got a job.
So I heard the funny story about you showing up at the office. Yaka answers the door.
Yes.
But Charlie's not there.
Charlie's not there. So Yaka answers the door. Hey, primo. He calls me primo, cousin. What's going on? And I said, no, Yaka, I'm just here. I wanted to say hi. I wanted to see if there was any opportunity for me to come back to work for the family. And he's like, hang on a minute. And I hear him. He picks up the phone. I think he's calling Carlos, but he's calling Charlie. Charlie was there the day before, and he says, hey, Jack's here. And Jack, your cousin. Like Charlie said, like, Jack who? and then he says, and I hear Yaka say, well, no, he's moving back to Miami. He's looking for work. And he says, hang on. He gives me the phone, and Charlie says, can you be at the office tomorrow again? I'll drive down and we'll talk. And he came down, and we spent the whole day smoking cigars and talking. And we had a good time, and the rest is history. I hit the ground running with Toraño. I fell in love with the industry all over again, and just couldn't have been happier to be there, and thought, this is it. This is, Toraño's closing in on 100 years. We ain't going anywhere. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. Toraño Cigars. And boom, 3 years later, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, during that 3-year run, let's talk about that for a second. We're talking about some of the, cigars that are, we're in 2021, post sale, everything. We'll go through a little bit more here in a second, but there are the cigars that you did during your that you were a part of, the projects that you were a part of during your tenure there, the first time around, are still some of the cigars that are talked about today among some of the hottest cigar makers in the industry. People talk about the Exodus, people talk about Virtuoso, the Finite, which I think personally,
I have a box there that I probably will never open, and I should.
My favorite Toraño cigar of all time.
Yeah.
And So this is the part we were talking about. So like, when I was going to say something about Toraño Cigars is the like, I remember very fondly smoking those cigars during that time, your first run with the company, where, I mean, every Torano cigar that I would smoke, I just loved, and there was not, and if there was, I sincerely can't name it. There was a cigar in the Torano portfolio that I didn't like. I don't remember it because I
Yeah.
just loved everything that you guys were putting out. It was
I did
just
too. We had one called Loyal. The
right.
Loyal, I wasn't a fan of the Loyal, but
I
other
remember
than the
that one.
Loyal, I was a fan of all of them, and really loved being on the marketing side and getting to work on brand development, and we didn't really have a master blender at the time. We had Felipe Sosa, um, who handled a lot of that, and his knowledge with tobacco. He's more of a master roller, but Toraño was really blend by committee. We had Bruce Lewis, our vice president, and the team would get samples, and we'd get feedback, and we always knew what we wanted, what kind of wrapper, what we wanted to add to the portfolio, and that's what we'd request, and that's how we'd narrow it down. But we never had, like, during my time there, we never had anybody going down there and actually working physically on a blend, like Hector does. We didn't have that. But
So,
listen, we came out with some amazing. The Finite came out in that. Even the cigar we did for Miguel, that Salutum, it was a really good cigar. I didn't like the marketing behind it, but it was a really, really good cigar. A lot of it was a good run. It was a good run.
so we're gonna talk about that phrase here in just a second, but I do want to talk about the finance since you were part of the marketing aspect of it. I mean, the purple, I mean, just pop off the shelf. What made you decide to go with purple? I mean, it's like it's
Well, that was Bruce Lewis,
underused.
our vice president, Bruce Lewis, was a big Prince fan. He loved purple. and we went with that purple band, and it really popped, and we went. It was limited, so it had I think we did 3,000 or 5,000 boxes, all numbered and the whole deal. But that blend just came out. I mean, to me, all the Exodus 1959 50 year is probably, aside from Casa Toraño, I could smoke Casa Toraño and Exodus 59 50 year, Exodus 1959 50 year anniversary all day long. That Arapiraca and that 59 50 year is spectacular to me.
So good. That cigar was fantastic. And incidentally, if I remember correctly, that's one of, and what I was referencing, I mean, like Skip Martin loves that still to this day, talks about that cigar.
Yeah.
He's a
and you talk to Skip, and it's funny. Like, Skip will say, listen, it's no surprise that a lot of our blends are a lot of beefed up, versions of Toraño, because Esteban de Isla, that runs Nica Sueño, ran the Toraño factory. Right. So if there was ever really a blend book out there, he's the man that has it. He's the one that knows the blends inside and out, Esteban. And a lot of that, like Skip uses a lot of Pueblo Nuevo tobacco. At that time, we were the only ones using Pueblo Nuevo. Right. And now Skip uses a lot of that. So listen, I probably a reason why I love Skip's blends. Skip puts out some really good blends, and they're just like, little bit punchier versions of Toraño cigars.
So you mentioned the phrase, "We had a good run."
Yeah.
And that's I hear from the story, the way that I've heard it a couple of times, that was the exact phrase that Charlie used on D-Day, not Doomsday, when
oddly enough, September 11th, 2014. 9/11. On 9/11, on the and it was kind of weird when you go back and you look at it. You could see the writing on the wall, to the point that me and Yaka used to sit there at the end of the day and have cigars, and I'd tell Yaka, dude, something's going on here. I don't know what it is. Something's going on here. And we had always said, listen, if it is that Charlie's trying to sell the company and Charlie doesn't have the passion, and surely we're all going to have a job, no matter who buys this company, because they're buying Toraño family cigars. They need us.
They need Toraños.
So that was, they need Toraños in this. And that's how we would console ourselves that, you know, to these odd requests of inventory and things that were being done behind the scenes that we were seeing. We're like, wow, this is kind of strange. And then on that Wednesday, September 10th, Charlie sent out a text message to, can I see everybody at the office at 8 in the morning? I was like, all right. I called Yaka and he's like, what do you think? And Yaka's like, dude, I don't know what to think. And I got there like at 7. I think I got there like at 7 in the morning, and Yaka was already there, and we were all sitting around, and I remember almost to the minute at 8 o'clock, Charlie walked in the door. Me and Yaka and him sat in the conference room, and he said, boys, the news is bad. As of 10 a.m. this morning, the company's been sold to General Cigar, and they don't want any of us. And I was like, holy shit, wait a minute, what's going on here? And you know, and then it just kept getting worse and worse. You know, representatives from General are like down the street waiting to come in and start taking inventory and start taking all this, and you know, and it was just a shock. It was a shock, and you know, in the next couple of hours. Now, the craziest thing about that is that the one thing Toraño was always missing in its portfolio was a very strong cigar, a nice Espinosa style cigar.
Sure.
So that's what began my relationship with Eric Espinosa. We were working on Espinosa making a collaboration with Espinosa on a full-bodied cigar for our portfolio. That day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Hector was scheduled to come to our office to finalize that blend.
Oh, shit.
That day.
Full circle, man.
One of my first phone calls, I send Hector a text, don't bother coming, I'll explain later. And I called Eric. And I told Eric what was going on. And he was like, holy shit. And Hector tells me that he called Eric and said, dude, I think Jack got fired. and Eric said, no, Charlie sold the company. They all got fired. So, but yeah, that I remember I left. For that day when I finally left, I talked to Eric for like half an hour, you know, and at that time Eric was like, listen, I wish I had a place for you now. You know, we're just starting out. I wish I had a job for you, but I can't afford you. You know, but don't worry, everything will be fine. You know, and I was just, my head was spinning. It was just a crazy day, but you know, we stayed on board. Yaka and I stayed on board and helped General do the inventory and help the transition for the next week. So
I can see Eric just saying, bro, like it's just like awesome.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like I can just hear him in that his gruff voice, like taken aback by it. I mean, just hearing it years later from you, just
you know, the thing about Eric in the whenever there's any type of issue, or you talk to Eric, and Eric is not polished by far. He's not a polished guy, but that dude processes thought faster than a lot of people I know that have master's degrees. I mean, Eric processes thought in the right way, and it's refreshing to sit and talk to him and get advice from him, because he's usually on point with everything he says. Mm-hmm. And it blows me away, because you know he'll say it in his bro speak, but dude, you're like, fuck, I would have never thought that angle. You know, in the 2 years I've been working for him, and we'll get close to that. There so many times that I've needed a little guidance with a couple of things we've had to do. He's come up with an angle that I was like, wow, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, so talking to Eric was, you know, Eric probably doesn't even know it, but that I remember that drive home when I talked to Eric, it was really, really helpful listening to him and just the way Eric communicates. And Eric's a no bones about it kind of guy. He's not going to sugarcoat anything, and I like people like that. I like people that tell you what the fuck they're thinking, you know, and Eric was on point with everything. And it was that day that, even though Eric didn't have a job for me and told me he couldn't afford me, that I thought I will work for this man one day, because I admired him so much.
There's a lot of things that I love about Eric. And one of the I've shared a similar observation of him. One of the things that I've just I am in awe of him about is just how he's sharp as a tack. He really is.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
just hearing you actually verbalize it and put it into words there. Like, I couldn't agree more that I've been a part of conversations where he's been talking to just different things, and he, like, just the way that he relays his thought and the way that he kind of processes things, like you said, just it's 100% spot on. I still lament this joke that he played on me at an event one time. It was hilarious, and I really hate to give away a magician's secrets, but I think it's just comical what happened to me. And it literally took me weeks later to figure out. I'm like, I was thinking about it for weeks. I'm like, how the fuck did he do this? And then it finally occurred to me what happened. I was like, son of a bitch. And like, so what happened was, for the people who don't know, so we're at an event. I was like, hey, Eric, would you mind taking a picture with me? And he's like, sure, absolutely. And I said, great. And so I hand someone else my phone. I'm talking to Eric. He's standing right next to me, and I hand someone my phone to take the picture. He takes my picture. We take our picture, and then 2 hours later in the event, still going on, and he's like, him and y'all's rep at the time, Scott Lewis, are kind of joking around. And he's like, and Scott's like, yeah, you should do your magic trick. It's awesome. And he's like, no. I'm like, I'm only right, like, 50% of the time. And he's like playing all humble and everything. And he's like, okay, fine. He's like, we'll do it on one of the staff. We don't want to do it to a customer. We'll do it on one of the staff. He's like, who, and he's like, someone pick. Scott's like, okay, why don't you do Bear? Go ahead and do Bear. And so, and we're like, okay, well, what's the magic trick? And he's like, well, it's only right 50% of the time, but I'm pretty sure that I can guess your code on your phone, your code. And I was like, okay, that's really random. All right, we're all game. We're all afraid. He's like, and so he starts asking me these really benign questions, like, what's your birthday? How old were you when you first got your first car? Like, just really random, like, inane shit. Like, and at the end of it, the punchline is he guesses my pin. I'm like, son of a, how the and I'm my jaw hits the floor. Everyone's just laughing their ass off, and I'm just like, and for weeks on end, I was like, how the fuck did he do this? Like, how did he do that? What was I started thinking about the pattern of the things he asked, and I was like, well, there was no correlation.
Yeah, I saw him do that same thing to Juan Cancel.
Oh my gosh. And then I was like, and I like a light bulb one morning, like, I was looking at my phone, and I turned around, I was like, he was standing next to me when I handed my phone to get a picture, and I had unlocked my phone, and he saw it. And that goes to what we were talking about.
Yeah,
He's sharp as a tack,
he
man.
Stored it away, and he knew that in a couple of hours he was going to come back to you.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So when I was working for General, we're doing Cigar Fest, and I'm in the booth with Ricky Rodriguez. And I see Ricky picks up his phone and punches in his number right in front of me, And I look at him, and I walked over to Eric, and I said, Eric, I got Ricky's number for you. So, dude, I give Eric Ricky's number, and Eric waits like 3 hours, man. I'm like, Eric's forgotten about this. And the next thing I see, like 3 hours later, I see Eric walking toward us, and he walks and starts shooting the shit with Ricky, and he trolls him into this contest. And he starts asking Ricky all these, and you got a crowd of C-festers watching this play out. And he finally tells Ricky, I think it's like 1157. And Ricky's like, no, you're wrong. And Eric's like, really? So you're wrong. And I'm like, oh, fuck, did I give him the wrong number? And then Ricky goes, fuck, I got to change my number. Got me. Ricky couldn't figure it out.
Oh, man. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Weeks. I mean, I was blown. I mean, I thought about it every day. I mean, he got me, man. He got me good. And not just got me, but I mean, I got me to the point where I was just thinking about it obsessively. It was just nuts. It was just
Have you ever
crazy.
seen that dude do? Has he done card tricks for you?
No, I haven't had the pleasure yet.
Oh, dude, listen, I've seen people call him like in Spanish as un brujero, like a witch or a warlock or something, and run out of that office. I mean, the guy that does our bands ran out. He saw, I don't remember who it was, a couple years ago, had brought one of those guys that does those card tricks, and he came over and did some card tricks for Eric. And then I watched Eric do cards. I said, dude, that guy's got, they're paying that guy to do that, and your tricks are better than that guy's. It's insane. It's insane. Do not play a card game with Eric. The way he manipulates cards is crazy.
That's nuts. That's
it's
awesome.
Crazy. Yeah. So back to that. I always knew I always knew I wanted to, and I kind of hoped that would work for him one day. So it's been an interesting ride. But again, here we are.
Yeah.
3 years at Toraño, and that ended. You know, it was 19 months with Duran, 2.5 years with General. And now I've just hit the 2-year mark in January, so I'm starting to get nervous. What's next? I knew it was good the first year. What's next? What's the next bomb that's going to drop?
So roll back to tell the time real quick. So you were at Duran for a little bit, but but during this time, you really are wanting to get back to the family business. You're really wanting to get back to Toraño, sell Toraño cigars, and you're communicating with General. You're letting everyone know at General that you want to be a part of this again. And another great story that I heard, and we talked about this before the show, and I just love it. You mentioned Seafest a moment ago. So you're at Seafest, and you walk into the Toraño booth, and you meet Regis for the first time. So you spent time talking to Dan Carr, who was the president at the time. Then Regis takes over.
Dan Carr, Alan Wilner, Giannini, anybody that could help me get to General, I was in their ear. And listen, Ricky Rodriguez and Michael Giannini were awesome, and getting the word to them that they needed to hire me. But Regis, Dan Carr's let go. A couple months later, they hire Regis. I've never even seen a picture of this guy. And I'm at Seafest, and I'm talking to Ricky again about how the hell can I get hired? And Ricky says, that's the guy you need to talk to. And I said, he points at the Toraño booth, and I said, well, that's Alan Wilner and Ed McKenna. I talk to them all the time. And he says, the guy behind him. I said, the young guy behind him? And he goes, yeah. He goes, that's Regis. That's the new president of General. I'm like, really? Hang on. So I head over to the booth, and Regis is standing in the background. So I walked up to Regis, and I said, hey, Regis, I'm Jack Toraño. And he's like, I know who you are. And I said, listen, I just wanted to say, as a Toraño, I'm real proud of, the direction you guys are taking the brand, and this 20th anniversary you're doing for CI is a phenomenal cigar, and my congratulations to you guys. But you're missing one thing. And we're standing, the backdrop is the Toraño family cigars shield. And he says, what are we missing? And I said, you're missing family. You're missing me. And I remember Regis looked at me and he said, you're willing to come back to work for the brand? I'm like, dude, have you not talked to everybody? I know you're new, but you haven't talked to anybody. He goes, well, listen, that's something certainly we can talk about. And then that really got the ball rolling. And a month later, I was hired and in the DR for their first national sales meeting that they'd had in years. So, and it was the timing was great, because they hired me 3 days before taking the entire team to the DR. So I got a crash course in meeting everybody over there. It wasn't one of these things where they hired me and now I had to start traveling with each rep and getting to know them and meet them. No, we all hung out and met, and during Toraño presentations, and played golf and partied at night and business during the day. And I got I knew a few of them, but I got to meet everybody in one room for 4 days. So So that was great timing.
So, and this is a time where did you know Justin Andrews before you started working with Toraño again?
I didn't. I didn't. I didn't. The funny thing is that we did Let My People Smoke. Anthony Renzulli, his multi-vendor event every year in Philadelphia. And again, this is maybe 2 or 3 months before General hires me. And every time I see an opportunity to talk to somebody from General, I'm there. And when I get there, I'm setting up the table, the Duran table, and I look over and there's Michael Giannini. So I set everything up. And as I'm getting to the table to talk to Michael Giannini, this guy says, "Hey, Jack, nice to meet you. I'm Justin." And I said, "Hey, Justin, nice to meet you. Excuse me." And I pushed him out of the way. And then when Justin's never let me forget that. I big dicked him. I told him, "Excuse me, I got to talk to Michael." And then talk to Michael. And he's like, "Dude, I remember that. I don't remember the person because I really wasn't focused on him. I know somebody said hi to me, and I just needed to get by that person that said hi to me." And little did I know he would become my brand manager. But now Justin and I have a great relationship. I love him to death, and we talk all the time. So, and listen, that led to the war zone. So
it's exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah,
so, but this is where I wanted to kind of interject a little bit with because I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, you've had a short-ish career in the premium cigar industry, and not you're not a rookie by any stretch, but you're also you've had a short run in this premium cigar industry. But the relationships that you've built, like I literally, I was thinking about this and I was counting people off that I've known who have specifically mentioned you and how you've been instrumental in their career and their lives, and it just, the list kept going on. And I was talking about, like we mentioned Skip earlier, we talked, Justin Andrews, Michael Giannini. I mean, these are some of the more famous people, but like, even like, Gabe Alvarez, with when he left Maya Selva, and you were instrumental in helping him get started with Casa Cuevas at the time. And
well, that was Luis Cuevas is a dear friend. I mean, we hang out with him all the time, and Luis was launching his brand at the time. He was getting ready to launch his brand at the time that I announced that I am leaving Duran Cigars. I put this whole social media post that my time has come to an end at Duran Cigars. I mean, literally 5 minutes later, I get a phone call and me and Gabe Alvarez are friends. We travel Florida together. We'd work together a lot when he was with Maya Selva, and even Cooch before that.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis calls and says, "Listen, I get the feeling that you would not leave without knowing where you're going, but I'm going to take a shot at this." And he tells me what he's doing, and I'd love for you to come on board with us. And I said, "Lewis, you're right. I would never leave without knowing where the hell I'm going." And then he was actually the first person outside of my wife that I said, "I'm going to work for General. It'll be announced in 2 days. But I got the guy for you. I got the guy for you. He his time at Maya Selva was coming to an end. I got the guy for you." And introduced him to Gabe, and that started that relationship. So Gabe was instrumental in getting that brand off the ground. I mean, Gabe is an incredible brand builder. So
yes,
there's guys that are good at the heavy lifting stuff. He's good at heavy lifting. There's guys that can take your brand from waist high up, and there's guys that can take it from the ground up. Gabe's a guy that can take it from the ground up. He is that guy that'll put in that work. I don't know. I hated trying to do that with Duran. I'm not good with a lot of rejection, and you face a lot of rejection. A lot of people bringing in the brand because they know me, or they know Miguel, or they know Carol Lee, or but the brand just wasn't going anywhere, and it took a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of things that were, I mean, it became a job. Duran was a job. Like Toraño, I had the passion. With General, the passion. with Espinosa, the passion, that middle ground with Duran. Even though I will tell you this, I love Roberto. Roberto was a wonderful man. And if you go back when Toraño ended, a week later, I get a phone call from Roberto, and he had already hired Miguel. And I guess Miguel had told him, we need to bring Jack on board. And Roberto said, can you come to the office to talk? And I remember this was like a Thursday. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'll be there tomorrow and we'll talk. And I told my wife, listen, the dust still hasn't settled from the Toraño days. It was maybe 2 weeks from Toraño. I'm going to hear him out. And I'll just tell him that, you know, if he offers me a job or whatever he says, you know, Roberto, give me the weekend. Let me think about it. And I'll get back to you. And I'll get back to you on Monday. But let me put some thought into this. Things are still spinning in my head. I had that locked and loaded. That answer was locked and loaded. I sit with Roberto for 2 hours, and we have an incredible conversation. And Roberto's very charismatic and a fun guy to be around. And at the end of that, he makes me an offer. And locked and loaded, I say, that's a very generous offer. I will, let me go home and talk to my wife. And, you know, he's very family oriented. So he liked that. He said, absolutely. Let me know by Monday. So then I come home after I've told my wife this, what I'm going to say, no matter what, this is what I'm going to say to him. That all plays out. I say that to him, and I come home and I tell my wife what he offered me. And she goes, are you out of your fucking mind? Call him back right now and accept it. So Roberto was very generous to Miguel and Carolee and all of us. And it was, you know, I'd like to say it became a job. It was a passion in the beginning. It was a lot of fun building that brand in the beginning. And then we were just like spinning our wheels. And it became, I came home miserable every day. And so it got crazy, but in the beginning and listen, Miguel's one of my favorite guys in this industry. So getting to work with Miguel every day was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, from Toraño to Duran, we were still working together and that was a lot of fun. And Carolee Martin is still a dear friend. I mean, listen, the people I've met along the way are people I'll have friends the rest of my life, and hopefully the rest of theirs, you know, that they feel the same way. But I've met some incredible people in this industry.
So the amount of, like, you just named off a couple other people, like and when I was counting earlier, I knew I had Miguel in the back of my head, but he wasn't even on the list either. But that's another example too. Brian McGee, another one. And
oh my God, I love Brian McGee. And
I mean, it's just endless. I mean, the impact that you've had on people in such a, you know, relatively short time has been, you know, second to none in a lot of ways.
I mean, I'm telling you, when I went to work for Toraño, I fell in love with it immediately and wanted to do more and more and more and get out there. And at that time I was handling marketing. So I really wouldn't go. I would get to go to C-Fest. I would only go to a few big events. I wasn't going out. Like, people didn't want to see me. They didn't know me. They wanted to see Charlie. You know, Yaka was going out because Yaka had been around a lot longer than I have. But I remember one day we were sitting in the conference room and I'd been working there 6-7 months. And Charlie goes to me, dude, the amount of people that talk to me about you, that you've already met and known and like you in this industry, is insane. He says, I don't know half these people. And you have gravitated out there and just had an impact on that. I said, dude, I like meeting people. You know, that goes back to my Jilly's days. What I loved about managing a bar on Rush Street was that it was a tourist bar. So every week we had a different set of people that would come to that bar. We had our regulars. We had a handful of regulars, but every week I'd get to meet people from all over the world. I loved that. I loved getting to know people. And that really helped me in this industry. And whether it's a consumer or somebody that I got to work with, and I've gotten to work with some amazing people, I mean, in this industry. So again, it's been 4 companies now. I mean, the crew in general, second to none. The amazing people over there. I'll you know, even though it's not that it didn't end well. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall, and they were very generous to me, and took really, even on the way out, took real good care of me. But I'll be friends with those guys forever. You know, even the guy that fired me, I'm good friends with. So yeah, should try not to hold grudges.
So, I had some Espinosa questions now, but I want to hold them off until after. So we break up the show a little bit. We've got a couple fun segments that I want to go through, and then we'll talk about Espinosa and your transition over to them and what that's been like. But so this is our segment that we call One Must Go. And it's where we have a little bit of fun with something. And I told you before, I think this might be the hardest one that I've ever done. So hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me. But as always, one must go. It's just for fun, though. Like I want to tee it up that this is just for fun. Nothing's real. Okay. I always say that, like, hey, nothing's happening. But as always, it's brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana and distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, and the highly acclaimed Atabey and Byron lines. So smoke one today and start living united. Okay, so this is our One Must Go segment. So I know, so Jack, as we haven't really talked about some of your beloved cigars, a few here and there, but some of your beloved cigars, and I know you're a big fan of a few. And including, we were talking earlier about the wonderful and generous pack that you gave me, and I noticed that there wasn't any 601 Black in there, but you were kind enough to give me the 601 Black T-shirt, so I'm representing your newfound love right here on tonight's show with the 601 Black shirt. Fantastic blend. So this is kind of surrounded by that. So I know that there's 3 cigars that I know for a fact are absolutely in love with. So the one must go is, if you had to get rid of one out of your rotation, which one would it be? Now, this isn't for real, everybody. No, Jack's not getting rid of any of these cigars. He's not telling anyone to stop making them or anything like that. But so here they are. So 601 Black is the first one, your new beloved. But the next one is the La Crema, which was the staple when you first joined Espinosa. And then
just the crema.
Just the crema, excuse me, the crema.
Not like it.
No, not like crema. So just the crema. And then the old beloved favorite of yours, the Casa Toraño. So one must go, Jack. Which one is it?
Wow. All right. So I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest about this, because I still, if I go to a shop, I still buy Casa Toraño if I can find it. And I haven't been able to find it anywhere. I've been hounding the guys at General for some sort of wholesale code that they can give me for CI. Casa Toraño, listen, will be a part of my life forever. That blend is incredible. 601 Black, because it's new, and I've smoked probably 100 of them, and that's the reason I didn't have any to send you, because it's just coming out. We're going to re-release it at TPE in these beautiful boxes. They've done a great job with that.
So such a good cigar,
and it's going to be limited one time a year type of thing. It's going to be very similar to Warhead, what we do with Warhead, a different size every year. It's not going to be a core line that will compete with Crema. Wow, you gave me 3 tough ones, man.
Like I said, I thought this was going to be the hardest one that I've used, because I know, I mean, the history with Casa Toraño, the 601 Black is the new beloved, and I know Crema is like the one that captured your heart.
I would have to get rid of Crema.
Okay.
I would have to get rid of Crema, because to me, 601 Black has everything Crema has, and a little bit more. I mean, it has that sweetness to it. It has that creaminess to it, but it has a little bit of a bite to it that I absolutely love with that 601 Black. And then if I want that mild Connecticut, a notch above smoke and air, that's that Casa Toraño, that it pairs well with coffee, and it's just something I absolutely love. I'm not a strong cigar smoker. I can't smoke La Bomba. I can't smoke Warhead. I wish you would have thrown one of those in there. But you know, Casa Toraño is near and dear to my heart, and 601 Black will become my favorite cigar. Probably more than Casa Toraño. So I would have to knock Crema off the podium there.
Oh man, that's crazy.
I know Eric would be shocked.
I'm sure. I honestly thought you were going to say 601 Black because you're like, oh, it's new. I'm not as as acclimated to it. I figured you'd keep.
I would tell you I'm not as acclimated because that was the running joke. The running joke was, we got all this stuff for La Zona Palooza, and then there was a lot left over, and then every show that I would do, I would run the joke of, I'm dying to try that blend, but I was smoking 5 a day. So I can't, I ask Hector every week, when is that coming back? When is that? And then we had like 400, like what came in, like 20 bundles came in, and Eric ran a promo and gave them all up for for that promo. And I was like, are you kidding me? It was, they'll be back soon. Don't worry. They'll be back soon. So I'm counting the days till I know they'll be there at TPE. I've been promised they'll be there at TPE. So you'll see me at TPE. I'll be smoking 601 Black over and over and over again. But yeah, Crema. It hurts. It hurts to say it. It hurts to say it. That's one of the toughest fuck, marry, kills I've ever had in my life.
So this is how excited I was to have you on the show, Jack. With all respect to my sponsor, United Cigars, I messed up the intro because our guest is always sponsored by United Cigars. And so tonight's sponsor for you, Jack, that to be on the show is, of course, United Cigars. So I messed that up in the intro, so I'll say it here. But a
little ironic too.
to play on that, just so we can have fun. I do have another one must go, and this is a little bit more fun. Okay. Might still be difficult, but this one's a little bit more fun. So you and I are fans of a movie. We both really enjoy this, and I was really pleased when I found out that you were a fan of it, because I think it's a movie that I watch a lot, and I just think it's just an awesome epic tale, and that's Gangs of New York.
Absolutely love it. Watched it again the other day.
Yeah, and I know your favorite character from that movie,
Bill the Butcher.
Bill the Butcher. It might be one of your favorite characters of all time. Exactly.
Of all time. It's my favorite character of all time.
Daniel Day-Lewis is just incredible in that role. He's just ruthless and the epitome of evil. And it's just, oh God, he's an incredible actor. Oh man. I cannot think of another actor that I absolutely despised the character that he played and then absolutely loved him in another role. And that was Lincoln. What he did with Lincoln and what he did with Bill the Butcher, like those two.
I don't think he's done another movie since Lincoln, right?
If he has, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think there was a time where he was doing like a movie every 5 years or something, and it's crazy. I mean, he's such a method actor, and I went into looking at the behind the scenes of Gangs of New York, where he was when they were eating lunch, when they were hanging around, he was Bill the Butcher. Like, he never broke character for anything. When he walked on set, he was Bill the Butcher. That had to have been freaky.
So there's a credit on here in 2017, Phantom Thread.
Yeah, I don't even
Reynolds
know that.
Woodcock. Yeah, I don't even know that one either. So, but yeah, he did Gangs of New York, The Ballad of Jack and Rose in 2005, 3 years later, and then 2 years after that, he did There Will Be Blood, and then
and I looked so forward to There Will Be Blood, and I was grossly disappointed by that movie.
Yeah, it really didn't hit for me. I know it's a big fan favorite for a lot of people, but it didn't hit. Yeah. Then he did 9 in 2009. And then he did Lincoln in 2012. But yeah, it wouldn't. Oh God, just an incredible role. So this one must go is actually other characters from that movie that we love. So one's got to go in terms of, just your overall thoughts of the character. So here are the 3 that I chose, and Bill the Butcher's not one of them. So because we both,
there you go, because he's not going.
Yeah, he's not exactly too easy. So the 3 characters are a very short role. Is my running joke about Liam Neeson is that he only survives about 5 minutes in every film, unless it's Taken, where he just takes out everybody. But Priest Fallon, His son, Leonardo DiCaprio's Amsterdam Valen. And Cameron Diaz's character, Jenny Everdeen. One's got to go. Which one is it?
Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz, no hesitation. Prince Valen, phenomenal. Amsterdam. I mean, I love Leo DiCaprio. I don't think I've seen him in a bad movie, or play a bad role. I didn't really like Cameron Diaz's character in that movie.
I
wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan.
I almost think that she's irrelevant.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
almost think she was. I thought she was miscast a little bit. I would have preferred someone else in that role. I didn't think she brought much to the table there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about who I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, definitely. I think there's a miscast. I'm not sure who I would, because I just think the role is just irrelevant. Like, she does almost nothing. I mean, she drives the plot along, I suppose, but you could almost replace it with nobody. Like, you could erase that and still put in different.
And the movie would still be phenomenal.
Yeah, this movie would still be phenomenal. You could put other
that little thread where his buddy is in love with her and she's in love with Leo's character, and you could take that out of the movie.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Now, one of the most underrated roles I think in the film is Brendan Gleeson. He plays Monk McGinn.
Yes.
Yeah, he was really good in that role, and just the death scene. When spoilers, who cares? It's been around forever. When Bill the Butcher takes him out, just unbelievable.
With the hatchet.
Yeah. And here's this notch. See this notch? This is you.
Yeah.
Oh,
buries it in his head.
Oh my gosh. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, truly one of my favorite movies, man. And again, well, go back and watch The Freshman. Go back and watch The Freshman.
I need to watch it. I've never seen it. You were telling me, and I am a Godfather fan, so I can't believe I've never.
If you're
seen
a Godfather fan and you haven't seen The Freshman, you're missing out on. Marlon Brando is incredible in this movie. I was sitting there watching it today, and Matthew Broderick, a very young Matthew Broderick, getting to play alongside Marlon Brando. I'd love to hear the backstory there. I mean, his thoughts on that. Because it's got to be incredible, and having Brando play the Don Corleone character basically in this movie,
he's playing
in
himself.
a funny way, is incredible. And Bruno Kirby was one of my favorite actors. He passed away. I just watched him again in City Slickers and this movie, and I loved Bruno Kirby.
I didn't know he had died, and that was really when I saw that not too long ago. Like, I couldn't believe it, like, that he had passed away, because I was always like wondering
quite a while ago.
Yeah, like like I think we've actually around the time that Gangs in New York came out, it was like 2005, 2006.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. It was crazy. Because I was always wondering, like, what's this guy doing? Because I liked him in like Donnie Brasco and a couple other films, and I thought he was a great actor.
He was in The Godfather too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fats Clemenza, the young Fats Clemenza. Yeah.
The young Fats. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a great actor. Great actor. So, so did I make up for it, Jack? The first one was really tough. Was that a little bit more fun, a little easier?
Alan Rubin threw out Bruno Kirby and When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
He was great in that movie.
All right. Well, so this next segment has become a favorite of mine, and so I started this actually on my birthday in late October of last year, and it's been just something I've been really, really enjoying. And I'm going to introduce it, Jack, but I want you to talk about it because I know this is very important to you. And I'm going to take just a quick break, so my screen's going to go black for a second, but I want you to talk about it, and I'll be right back. But this is just something that I've really enjoyed, and that's what I've been doing every week since my birthday, is I've been asking my guests to spotlight, raise awareness, bring attention to a charity or nonprofit of their choice. And when I asked you about this, you were like, "Hey, let me give you some thought." And then you told me this morning what it was going to be. I read a little bit into it. I was super excited to talk about this. And so your charity of choice is Cityhouse of Delray Beach. And this is a fantastic organization that helps out and provides hope and renewal to homeless mothers and their children in Palm Beach County. So, Jack, I'm going to give you the stage here for a couple minutes, and I want you to talk about it, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So City House, my cousin Charlie Torano is the president of the board. His wife Stephanie is the secretary. It is a nonprofit that I think, back in the day when a woman was struggling and had a child, the child was there wasn't much hope for this child. He would be put in child protective services, or it was tough for them to reunite. So this charity kind of saw a need for them to rehabilitate the family unit together, the mother and the child. So there is they own an apartment building in Delray, and they provide housing, schooling. They provide all these things needed, all the tools for a woman to get her life back together and be productive with her child and have them be a productive part of the world, of society. Charlie, I've done poker tournaments and charity fundraisers that he's been a part of, and to listen to Charlie talk about this it's a pretty amazing nonprofit that he's put together. And a lot of people will always ask me what's Charlie doing nowadays. Well, he's doing a lot of that and a lot of good work with Cityhouse. So truly, if you guys find it in your hearts to donate to nonprofits, Cityhouse is one that you want to look at. And if you go to Cityhouse, I think it's cityhousedelray.com, you'll get a feel for what they're all about and what good work they're doing. But very proud of Charlie and his wife Stephanie and all their work they're doing there. And I look forward to playing in their poker tournament, charity fundraiser. Hopefully COVID won't knock it out again this year. But they do a lot of good work for struggling family.
It's just a fantastic organization, Jack. I was just so pleased when I started reading about this. I had no idea about it. And when you told me that, that Charlie and his wife were on the board, and I look it up, and Charlie's the president of it. And
Charlie's the president of the board.
and I'm actually putting in the chat right now, and I'll put in the show notes later, the link to donate. So if you go back on the advertisement for tonight's show from earlier today, it's the link is on there too if you want to donate via Facebook, which I really like. I really like what Facebook does, because you can donate through Facebook and everything 100% goes to the charity.
Yeah.
No fees, nothing. The charities don't have to give anything back to Facebook. For all the toxicity that Facebook has, and there's plenty to talk about there. It's really.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you're doing this. That I think it's an interesting little thing you're adding to the show. Very cool.
Jack, it's been so much fun. And because you get to learn a little bit about, each guest and what matters to them and things that they're passionate about, outside of the cigar industry. And I mean, that's really what my show's about, is I talk about, I always tell people, I'm interested in the story behind the story. And we've spent a lot of time, through your storied career in your life. And I mean, we could be here for hours talking about it, really, but this is one of my favorite segments, because it just brings awareness to so many great organizations and everything. And later tonight, Jack, in honor of you and your wife Ceci, I'm going to be making a small contribution as well to Cityhouse.
I appreciate that, Charlie. I'm sure Charlie appreciates that.
So if anyone else feels called, please, the link is in the chat right now. You can also go back to tonight's advertisement that was posted earlier today and just hit the donate button. And again, Facebook's great. You can donate as little as $5. I mean, I mean, every little bit counts, especially to great organizations. What I thought was really cool about was City House is just that it's not just about it providing, you know, resources to these single and homeless mothers. It's a home. I mean, literally is a house. I mean, and they built the house. I think it was 2000. It formed in 2014, 2016. I think the house was actually officially opened. In the following year, I believe, they were at capacity already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're at capacity. There's a waiting list. There is, you know, if you look at the website, a couple of the women that came from there that are actual graduates of this program opened a business together. So there's a lot of great things coming from this, and these are, you know, listen, you spiral. Life is hard, man. Some of these women spiral in a bad way, and they need help, and this company, this nonprofit is truly helping out, you know, not separating them from their kids, and not putting their kids in child welfare, and not putting them in all these, you know, bad scenarios that they can't bounce back from. You know, they have to, from what I understand, they have to, you know, be productive. They have to work. They have to, you know, the tools are given to them. I think if you look at that, starting last year, they're all given a car. They all get a car to use. So, you know, they're all given all the tools to succeed, and a lot of them never had that opportunity.
The interest, I'm a big stats guy, you know, showing my baseball background. But the interesting stat that I learned today by looking at City House was that 30% of all children in foster care would be with their parents if their parents had a stable situation.
Yeah.
And this is an outlet. This provides that stable situation, and it's not just the mothers that are taking care of the children, are taking care of the children's improvements and recognition in schools and academics, and even sports programs that City House has been a part of has been well documented. And this is a great organization. It's just wonderful. So thank you Thank you for that. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you.
So wanted to bring back to your career in the premium cigar industry. So the second stint of Toraño comes to an end.
Yes.
And so you're a free agent again. And
sort of.
What's that?
Sort of.
So there's actually a story there, right? So like you,
yeah.
And so
the funny, General was going through something called fueling the growth, but fueling the growth meant that they were going to downsize a lot of departments, and kind of restructure everything. And so everybody was kind of really afraid of fueling the growth, because a lot of people, the potential to lose your job was just staring at you, leading up to this holiday season in 2018. And fueling the growth came to fruition the week after Thanksgiving. So I remember that I thought I was going to be let go then. I really did. There was no, you could kind of see it. There was no plan for general plans a year or two in advance. And while there was always plans for Toraño, 2019 had no plans for Toraño. So, I mean, there were rumors that they were going to keep me on board, and possibly I was going to become brand ambassador for Punch or Hoyo de Monterrey, or there were those things behind the scenes happening. But I really expected to be let go during the fuel of growth, and then I wasn't. I was part of their structure, and I thought, holy shit, they're keeping me. They must have plans for me. But again, there's no plans for Toraño. They're not telling me anything else. And we're at the end of November, and we're on a conference call, and they tell everybody, well, congratulations, you've made the team, and you've done this, and I still don't know what I'm going to be doing in 2019. So I'm not traveling. I don't travel much in December anyways. And with no real plans for Toraño, I didn't really know what to do. So what I was doing was hanging out with Eric. I would go into Espinosa's office and hang out with Eric and shoot the shit with Eric, and we'd go to cigar shops. And Eric's like, listen, Eric had a job for me. He wanted me to be the national sales director. He hadn't had one since Fernie. It had been, I think, a couple of years that he had a national sales director. So he's like, I'm ready to bring you on board. He goes, if you think they're going to let you go, why don't you just quit? And I'm like, well, Eric, if I make it to the end of the year, there's a big bonus involved. So I'd like to ride this out. And he said, and I remember Eric said, I'll tell you what, I'll hold this job for you till the end of the year. And if they let you go, you got a job here. And then listen, we had already negotiated salary. We negotiated everything. So I knew I had the job with Eric. And then the first week of December, General invited me up to their offices for a meeting with the brand ambassadors and the brand managers. And I thought, well, either they're going to talk to me about Toraño, or maybe they're offer me Punch or one of the other brands, or we'll move in that direction. And I remember Eric telling me, well, if they're flying you up there, they're not letting you go. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, but it was nice to have Espinosa in my back pocket. And like, listen, we all went to a dinner. It was a great kumbaya moment. Everybody had a great dinner on that Monday night. Tuesday was all day meetings, and Tuesday at 8:45 they said, hey Jack, can we talk to you in the office before those meetings? And there's where they let me go at 8:45 in the morning. And at 8:50 from that same office, I picked up the phone and called Eric and said, hey, I'm on board. And he's like, they let you go? And I said, they did. I'll tell you all about it, but I'm on board, brother. I'm on board. And the rest is history, as they say. It was shocking to be let go. It was kind of weird, because even though I had been expecting it for months, it dragged on so long that I got blindsided in the end. It was like, holy shit, they let me go on. That the scenario of that day is hilarious. They were having an office party, Christmas office party, where it was ugly sweater day and a bake contest. So everybody's walking in ugly sweaters and baked goods, and there's this festive party going on. And then
everyone's got their fruitcake, and
they shit can me. during I was like, man, if I could go back, I would have showed up with like baked goods and an ugly sweater just to make them feel real bad being part of this party. But listen, General took really good. It was shocking, and the guy Chris that let me go, that the messenger, basically, I know it wasn't his decision, but he's the one that had to deliver the message. I exchanged some not too nice words with him, and then a couple weeks later I called him and kind of apologized for the way I spoke to him and how everything happened. But listen, to his credit, he was like, Jack, we were friends before and we'll be friends forever. And January I started working with Espinosa, and one of the first things I said, you go back a few months, they had given Justin Andrews the task of seeking out boutique companies to collaborate with. And Justin and I were talking about it, and we talked about a bunch of different companies, Espinosa being one of them, in the mix while I was a general. And then, Justin, to Justin credit, Justin said, well, Espinosa has moved to the top of the list now. And I remember one of the first things I said to Eric was, do you want to do a collaboration? And he always did, because Eric was aware that I was pitching. When I was a general, Eric was aware that I was pitching Espinosa as a collaboration with Toraño. So I knew Eric was on board, and I said, well, let's get Justin over here. And then everything came from that. So, like I tell, there was a lot of people that thought that it ended really bad at General. It was really ugly the way it ended. And I'm like, dude, do you think that if it would have ended that poorly, they would have been collaborating with a company I went to. That would have that should tell you that they're all dear friends of mine, and I love them all to death. And it was a business decision, not a personal decision, and life goes on. And now Espinosa has a great relationship with General, and hopefully we'll be doing more and more stuff with them. So.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really exciting project that you got to be a part of. And, you know, with your moving over to Espinosa and everything, it's kind of, it was, this is a quick side note. And like you said, it was a business decision and everything, but I remember, and you're much closer to our mutual friend Coop, than you and I are. And I remember, you know, as the story came out and I was like, can you believe this? And I remember talking to, of course he knows everything because it's Coop, right? And I was like, I remember just being really upset about it. And I was just flabbergasted by the whole thing and everything. But, you know, when I found out that you were going to Espinosa, I was like, this is really awesome on number levels, but it was kind of like a coming home party in a different kind of way. I know you've always had a great relationship with Eric, as you were talking about, but you know, I mean, the whole reason your whole speech with Regis in the booth at one time, you know, was because you were the family, you were Torano.
Yeah.
And so you're coming home to another family-owned business. So,
yeah.
I mean, did you feel that way? Like, hey, I'm coming home, and even though it's not my direct family, I'm back with a family again. Did it feel that way for you?
Absolutely. It absolutely felt that way. And it you know, it's great to work with Eric and his son, and Hector and I have been friends for years, you know, and then we brought Richie on board, and Richie and I have been friends for years. And I think Eric's put together a really good team there. And you know, listen, we were primed. 2020 was our year to shine, and then COVID hit. So hopefully, as the dust starts settling from this COVID thing, and maybe these vaccines start, you know, doing what they're supposed to do, and everything opens up, you're going to see a lot of great things from Espinosa, and a lot of events, and a lot of, you know, live Zona Paloozas, and a lot of things that we were deprived of last year. But getting to work with, you know, not only it was happy to go to a family-run company again, but the boutique world is the world that I love. I absolutely love. Listen, getting to work with General for 2.5 years and seeing how that machine rolls, and I almost went to work for Eric after they let go of Fernie. I almost went to work, and then General came calling. And Eric was like, I understand, you know, you got to give Toraño another shot, and this and that. But I was much better prepared after 2.5 years with General to do the role I do with Espinosa than I would have been 2.5 years before. So it was like going to the university of how cigars are sold and marketed, and getting to work with an incredible team in General that helped me along with the world of Espinosa. But this the thing I love about boutique, listen, at General and at these big companies, you know, you could have the best idea in the world. It's got to go up the ladder. You know, there's so many levels of people that need to approve it, and if one of those guys were like, you know, I don't see it, you know, it can just get shit canned just because of that one guy that doesn't like the vision you and maybe 5 others have. Where in the boutique world, you know, the Eric Espinosas, the Charlie Toraños back in the day, the Roberto Durans back in the day, you have an idea, you bring it to the table, and they're like, you think it'll work? Or maybe they tweak it a little bit and make it a great idea. You go with it. And that's the world I love. I love being able to, from concept to conception, it's, you don't have 19 different people that need to approve it or put their hand in it. You know, that's what I love about this side of the cigar industry. And I quickly realized that the boutique world's where I belong. I absolutely love it here. You know?
Yeah, that was, you know, you took the words out of my mouth, Jack. I was going to say, like, because you probably, I was going to say, you probably had pages, a book of ideas that, you know, didn't even get to a conversation, you know, at a place like General. just because of the way it's structured, nothing no malice or anything there, but just the way that it's constructed because it's a huge corporation and everything. But I mean, you've got a great idea now. It's like you don't even knock on the door. You just walk into Eric's office and
Yeah, yeah.
and
You listen, Justin Andrews, the last year and a half I was there, Justin Andrews was my brand manager, and Justin Andrews came out with incredible ideas to, listen, Toraño, they put out these colorful boxes and it kind of rebuilt the foundation. Because when we gave the distributorship to CAO, the brand took a hit. Then when Charlie sold the company, the brand takes a second hit. And then General, to its credit, comes out with these very affordable, colorful boxes, the Vault line, and reintroduces it basically. And it works. Those brands are selling. Things are going well. We've rebuilt the foundation, but now you got to build the house. And it didn't seem like we were getting anywhere. 2 years later, I'm out there doing the same Vault events, even though Justin was pitching some amazing ideas. They were never going anywhere. So that's part of where I saw the writing on the wall and saw what was happening, and then you'd hear the whispers, well, they're thinking of Toraño going internet only, and well, if it goes internet only, what the hell do they need me out there? So
right.
But it was frustrating, but listen, in the end it all worked out.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Warzone project. So like you said, you've been pitching Espinosa to Justin along with some other brands and other boutique factories and things like that. And so, you leave General and, Espinosa gets booped to the top of the list, and then Warzone happens. Was the idea always to allow the boutique company to actually manufacture it, or was it to allow them to blend it and then General? Was it always the way that it ended up being, or were there kind of tweaks and pivots along the way?
I'm sure there were tweaks along the way. My side of it and Justin's side of it was that we kept trying to pitch a collaboration with Espinosa, or a collaboration with, to be honest, with Romacraft. Not a Romacraft Toraño collaboration, but a Nica Sueño cigar made for Toraño, because the story was written. Esteban de Isla ran the Toraño factory. Now he runs Nica Sueño, and he's made this new blend for Toraño. So the story was there with Romacraft. Espinosa, when Charlie sold the company, we were in the final stages of creating a powerful blend for the Toraño portfolio. Let's finish what we started in 2014. The story was there. So it was those type of things. And then during that, they came to Justin and said, you need to seek out, not only for Toraño, you need to seek out boutiques that are strong in the industry, that we'd be willing to collaborate with. And at the time you're thinking, why would General want to collaborate with a boutique? But to their credit, there's a part of the market there that there's shops all over the country that don't carry General or Altadis, or they're boutique-driven stores.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a need for that General to get their foot in the door there. And then there's a ton of stores that don't carry boutiques.
Right.
And it would help out the boutique. And it was a good project that was thrown on Justin to come up with, and Justin came up with a lot of good ideas and looked into a lot of different boutiques. But the moment that I went to Espinosa was like went to the top of the list. And then once Eric and Justin talked, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I got to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be difficult. I mean, I always used to tell Eric, listen, don't get your hopes up. This is preliminary talks, and from start to that cigar coming out, it was 8 months of, General couldn't have been more helpful, and it worked out without a hitch. And the cigar was just phenomenal. They came out, they wanted to do that camera. They wanted it made at Zona. They would provide the wrapper. We'd provide the factory and the blend, and Justin and Hector and Eric got there and put together a dynamic blend with that camera and wrapper. And and it did so well that once again, you know, they released the second part of it. We released a different size in it, that short Churchill, and things went so well that they're talking about other stuff. So hopefully it'll be a long relationship with General.
You bring up a good point about their, you know, General has this major footprint, and and they have their stores that don't carry or don't know about Espinosa that now do because of this. And then there's, you know, shops that are the opposite. And she actually just answered my question. Like, I know that Chrissy Critchfield is in the chat right now, and I know they're a very boutique heavy shop, but she just said, she's like, they opened up a general account so that they could carry Warzone, and I'm sure it's opened up, a great avenue for them with the great portfolio that General does offer. But it all started with Warzone. It started because of you and your relationship and Justin and
Yeah.
what happened there. And so the Cameroon wrapper, was that, I mean, like, was that always the plan, or that was just how it ended up?
I think we were looking for something that we didn't have in the portfolio. So I mean, the Cameroon wrapper was something that became very attractive to to Hector to use. It's something different. We didn't want to put out another, you know, Habano or Murcielago or Escuro, or, you know, we had all these different things in our portfolio. We had Brazilian tobacco, we had Mexican San Andre, we had Habano, we had, you know, what is it that we're missing from our portfolio? And Cameroon kept coming to the forefront. Now listen, they did 2 or 3 different blends, and only one of them had Cameroon. But once everybody smoked that Cameroon that Hector did, it became the one. So it wasn't the plan wasn't for Cameroon until the sample came out, and then it was like, yeah, this is what we need. So.
Warzone's one of those cigars for me that just, like, every time I smoke it, it keeps getting better.
Yeah.
And there's something very unique about it. I love the new sizes that you guys are going to be introducing with it. It's a really dynamic blend that it really affords to a lot of different vitolas. And I think it's going to be a great mainstay for the Zona family. It really is a fantastic blend. Hector outdid himself for sure.
Yeah.
You were talking about him at a baseball game, kid in a candy store. I bet when he saw some of the tobacco that he'd have access to, I'm pretty sure it was probably the same.
Oh my
reaction.
God, him and Carlito from the factory went over to STG, and they were kids in a candy store. I mean, listen, the amount of the stockpile of tobacco the General has is insane. So I remember it was eye-opening to me. I mean, when I went to that sales meeting in 2016 in the DR, and we went to the factory, we walked into a room that was the size of a gymnasium. I mean, like a college gymnasium type of college arena. And floor to ceiling were bales and bales and bales and bales of wrapper leaf. And it was $100 million in wrapper leaf in that room. And I remember I said, how much of this do we consume and how much do we sell? And one of the guys said, what do you mean do we sell? We don't sell any of it. We consume it all. We don't sell tobacco to other manufacturers. So it was a little crazy. I may have lost you. Let's see. There's people out there watching. Are they watching me? Are they watching Bear? I've lost Bear. Watch me smoke. I can tell that I'm still on. So if anybody has a question while we get Bear back on. Oh, he says he froze up, but he's still going. I'll dial in. There you go. Chrissy Critchfield. That's Eric. Eric sings all by myself. So hope everybody's having a good time. It's way past my bedtime. We're closing in on 1 o'clock in the morning here. Whoa. That tells you how much I love Bear. Tell us about Christmas vacation. Okay, what Christmas vacation? I am smoking the 601 Gold. And then there's a sample here that Hector gave me that you guys would all want to know what this is, but I can't tell you. I will tell Luis Cuevas you said hello, Joseph. Absolutely. I saw him Friday night. We were at Empire together. Orlando, you reside in Miami now. I asked because I'm moving from California to Miami this year. Absolutely. And my wife's a realtor if you need her, Orlando. She'll find you a good place to live. A shameless plug for my wife. Chrissy, what are you doing awake at this time, Chrissy? Is the shop still open on a Sunday night? Orlando's a realtor. If you're a realtor in Orlando, it doesn't do you any good here. In not in Orlando, I'm sorry, in California. Chrissy's a night owl. Jay Davis just got home. Man, you guys open late on Sunday nights. Jay Davis, you going to be at TPE? Orlando's getting his Florida license. Well, good luck, dude, because my wife's been looking for there are not many houses out here. When one goes up for sale, there's 14 offers. 12 of them haven't even seen the house. It's crazy. The market down here is insane. You know. Orlando will be at TPE and MPCA. So will we. We will be at both of them. All right. So this is a first. I wish I could do card tricks like Eric. That would entertain you guys. How do I let you in, Bear? Same here, California. Bear wants me to land. You think I have control over this? Participants, let's try this. Bear, buddy, I don't know how to let you in. It says participants too, but there's only one there. How about now? Here you go. Allowed to talk. Are you there? You got to unmute.
Can you hear me, Jack?
I can hear you, brother.
Okay. Well, never a dull moment here on this show sometimes. I really appreciate it. Thanks for holding down the fort for me. I really appreciate it. To our audience as well. Really means a lot. So, yeah, Jack, we'll kind of I just had a couple more questions and everything, and I think we've got we've covered some amazing stories here. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic talking with you. So I really appreciate the opportunity. But we were talking a little bit about Espinosa Cigars there and what Warzone has did for the company as well as what it did for General as well. But one of the things that I was kind of interested in talking with you just a little bit more about was the idea of, I mean, is Warzone the only project that's kind of in this wheelhouse for general, or has there been talk about, because you guys are expanding Vitolas, has there been talk about additional?
There are talks about additional projects, and
Okay.
Eric Jr. and Hector and Eric are in discussions all the time. I think there's a couple there in the hopper, and hopefully you will see one for PCA at the Espinosa booth. I mean, listen, the thing about Warzone is it's a cigar that we collaborated on, but we didn't get to sell it. So hopefully we're working on something that our sales team can sell. That so I know there's 2 or 3 different ideas being thrown around, as well as another line extension of Warzone, and hopefully they all come to fruition.
It'd be really exciting. So, you know, let's go back just a few short weeks, actually, just a couple months back here. And, you know, Cigar Aficionado's top 25 cigars of the year's come out. I mean, this is the list that everyone looks forward to, you know, and Warzone is, you know, got a great rating from Cigar Aficionado. And, you know, you had to be thinking that you guys were in the running to make the list. And then, of course, lo and behold, you guys make it. And, you know, I can't imagine what that was like for Eric or Hector. I'm going to ask you to answer for them necessarily, but what did that mean to you?
Dude, it's been an incredible, for Espinosa, it's been an incredible run. Listen, I've been there a little over 2 years now. And in the 2 years I've been there, we got number 11 last year with Habano, number 13 this year with Warzone. And then in Cigar Snob, we got the number 3 last year with Se Provincia at the MTZ Matanzas, and then the Cigar of the Year with Oscuro this year. So it's been an incredible 2 years of some really, really nice ratings there, and some nice acknowledgement that Eric and the team are making some really good blends. And again, you go back to 2015, Laranja was the number 13 cigar. 2017, 601 Red was the number 15 cigar. So I mean, La Zona and is putting out some amazing blends, and it's nice to see the acknowledgement and the pat on the back that things are going well. So we all get very excited. I can tell you that the day the announcements for Cigar Snob, when that was being made, you know, we knew we had scored high. We had heard a rumor that we had re-rated to like a 94 with that blend, and if you know Cigar Snob, that the last day they start like on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday they release like, you know, 15 to 20, 10 to 15, like that, and then on Friday it's they start at noon, and it's number 5 at noon, number 4 at 1, number 3 at 2, until 4 o'clock, where you get the number 1 cigar. And we figured we were in the top 25. We didn't get in there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We get to Friday, and we're like, all right, we're probably gonna be in the top 5 again. This is real exciting. And 5 comes out. We're not 5. We're not 4. We're not 3. We're not 2. And I remember at 3:30, I sent Eric and the team a text message. Congratulations, boys. You got the Cigar of the Year with Cigar Snob. We got the Cigar of the Year with Cigar. And Eric's like, what's wrong with you? Why would you jinx us? And so I was sweating it out. I was sweating it out at 4 o'clock, because I'm like, the worst thing you want to be in the eyes of Eric is a mush. Eric has a couple of friends that are mushes, that if they tell him they're going to bet on, you know, whatever team, he bets opposite, because he knows they're going to lose. And I ran the risk of being the latest mush at Espinosa if that didn't go well. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I kept hitting refresh on my phone. And when I saw Oscuro number 1, I was like, thank the Lord, because it was an exciting moment. It was an exciting moment. So, and well-deserved. I mean, Eric's been doing some amazing shit for the last 10 years with Espinosa, and for 25 years that he's been in this industry. So it was well deserved for him, and we all couldn't have been or happy, mostly for Eric and Eric Jr. I mean, they put in a lot of work, and Hector's been killing it with the blends. Listen, a lot of people call themselves that master blender tag gets thrown around a lot. I'll tell you this. I'll put Hector. I'll put Hector up against anybody. Hector, his knowledge of tobacco and what he's learned in the last 9 years, and the blends that he's putting together are second to none. So I'm very proud to be able to work with him and this team. So.
Yeah, you mentioned Hector and the incredible job that he does with blending, and I've said this a number of times, and he's always been first to say, and I still just blows me away when he always says this. It's a fact too. Is he says it like it is. He says he's like, I'm a newbie. I'm a new guy when it comes to blending, and relatively speaking, he is. But
yeah,
if one can be as successful as he has been in such a short amount of time, I mean, it is really incredible what he's been able to do in that short time, and the cigars that he's come out with. Like, just personally speaking, like, I mean, I really love his blending style. It really hits my palate, and he does it in a lot of different ways, with a lot of unique projects too, that he's done for, like, a lot of the other, members of the Zona family. I mean, going back to when y'all were doing Cornelius and Anthony when it was around,
yeah.
And, like Ariel and Seniority Sugars, and then what he does for the protocol team, and it all goes back to the Espinosa. I have always said, I've told Eric this a number of times, you mentioned that list. I still say that, it was really great seeing Warzone pop on there, because, I mean, I've always said that Laranja got robbed the year that,
Yep.
It hit I think it was top 15, but I mean, that was the number one cigar that year in my mind. I mean, it just was, I mean, it's still incredible. It's still an incredible
in mine too. And I didn't work for Espinosa at the time, and I thought I was hanging on that list along with everybody at Espinosa, because, like I said, Hector and I have been friends for a long time, and I thought Laranja was going to get Cigar of the Year. It was my favorite cigar that year, and I really thought that cigar needed to be Cigar of the Year, if not at least top 5. So I can tell you, to me, it was a disappointment that it was 13. It's still incredible with the amount of cigars that are rated, that they got number 13. It's a huge accomplishment, but we really thought that cigar was gonna just blow everybody. I mean, listen, you could argue that cigar really put Espinosa on the map. That blend, and you talk to Eric, and Eric's asked a lot, and he's asked a lot in front of me, that if you had to smoke one cigar for the rest of your life, what would it be? And he doesn't hesitate. Laranja, that is his favorite cigar, and I can tell you, for the longest time, it was my favorite cigar. So yeah, it's but again, Hector, I think that Hector is relatively new is good, because Hector is very mindful of creating different blends, and a lot of people fall into that routine, and a lot of their cigars taste the same. And Hector, to his credit, is he knows tobacco. He knows how to change it up. He knows the wheelhouse for protocol, for Cornelius and Anthony at the time, for Espinosa. He kind of has, and we're all excited because Hector's, retiring from the police department at the end of April, and in May he comes to work with us for full time. So we'll have Hector the whole time. Mr. Warmth will be in the office all the time, unless he's in Nicaragua. So.
And see, that's the incredible part to me. He does this as a part-time, like, just, it's unbelievable. When he gets to put his full effort into it, I mean, not that he doesn't put his full effort into it now, but when he finally gets to put, like, all of his energy, I'm on pins and needles.
Yeah.
I really.
Yeah. I look forward to Hector gets to the office around 3:00 in the afternoon every day. And, I look forward to those days where he just walks in with this random cigar like this one, and he says, "Give this a try," and he won't tell me anything about it. And it's it's been a struggle since COVID for him, because he's been basically blending on the telephone, and it takes forever, because you have to tell them what you want. It goes back to the Toraño days where you got to wait for the samples, and if the sample just a little bit off or a little bit this, or you got to tweak this, and then wait another few weeks for the next round to come in. And so it's been difficult, but dude, he's still killing it out there. So
it's just really terrific. So we talked about the 601 Black, and we talked about the new Las Provincias. I'm smoking the 601 Snake Bite right now, which is just really, really terrific blend. It's a great cigar that I'm finishing the evening with, and I got to wonder though, is it as I'm smoking it, is this one that we were talking about your palate earlier about how you're more of a mild smoker and everything. This one's got some pop to it. I mean, are you a fan of this blend? I mean, personally speaking, are you?
I am. So listen, I favor milder cigars, and I fell into that habit because when I'm traveling and visiting shop after shop after shop, I tend to smoke crema Coronas, something small. I'm in that shop, I move on to the next shop, and it's not something that is just, a bomb. Every cigar I smoke can't be medium full. It'll just kill me. And the days that I'd spend doing that at night, I'd have trouble falling asleep. I mean, it was just, it was, so I fell back into to being a big fan of Connecticut's. I love Connecticut wrappers. I love, this, you mentioned Cornelius and Anthony's Ariel. I love that cigar, so there's, I'm just a Connecticut fan, but that doesn't mean I don't like stronger cigars. I stop short when it gets to Warhead or the La Bomba line. I just, they knock me out. I mean, I can't smoke those, but everything else, 601 Blue, Habano, these online exclusive Snake Bite, 601 Gold, these cigars, I don't have any problem with those. And, I won't wake up in the morning and have them. I sit out here in my backyard in the morning with a cup of coffee, answer emails, and usually have a Connecticut. Listen, the E-Bundle Connecticut that we sell that is like a $4 or $5 cigar is phenomenal to me. I absolutely love that cigar, and it's become my morning cigar every day, which makes Eric very happy.
Yeah, just the last few things that have been coming out. I know they were kind of like special stuff, and they were kind of like small batch, including the event cigar, the Laranja, the barber pole that you guys are putting out.
Crema de Laranja, yeah.
Yeah, that we were talking about. When I lit up the Benny's exclusive, the 4-Star Society. At the beginning of the show, we were talking I talked about how it had that signature Espinosa, pop, that bite, Yeah. That was something that I was missing from the Laranja de Crema, and but not in a bad way. Like, it was just something completely different. So you can see even now how Hector is evolving, as he's taking on more and more time and more and more experience, and his palette is expanding, and he's just been, it's just incredible what he's putting together. It's pretty awesome.
Yep. So that's why we're looking forward to full-time Hector, to see what he comes up with, because when he's gonna put his all his resources into this, it's going to be interesting to see. And he's going to spend more time in Nicaragua. So Nicaragua's opening up a little. Eric was there a couple weeks ago, and I think Hector right off the bat's going to go spend 2-3 weeks over there. So we're all very interested to see what Hector comes up with.
No, absolutely. I'm just really excited to see what comes next, and even if like in the era, and not to be that what's new guy, but just what he's able to do with some of like the Tolas, from with some existing stuff, it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Hey, you're back.
Yeah, it took a while, but here I am. So,
But Jack, thanks for holding the fort down. Really appreciate that. I just have a couple more questions to conclude the night, and I can't thank you enough. I mean, what a crazy ride it's been tonight. But can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect.
Perfect. So these are my last two questions for the night here, Jack. And this is the time that I always take I always thank my guest for being a part of the show. And I know we joked at the top of the show just about how this is past your bedtime and stuff. But I mean, I mean this with every single one of my guests, but you more than most, Jack. It means the world to me that you would spend time away from your family and time away from your normal schedule just to sit down and talk with me about your story. I'm touched, and I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm sorry you thought that I wouldn't do the show because I went to bed early.
No,
I would have made show 62, not 162.
Well, like I said, it wasn't you. I totally called falling the sword, man. It was my fault. I thought I was being considerate, and I was just being a jerk this whole time. So this one is a story I heard, and I thought it was just hilarious. And we were talking about our love of movies earlier, and I know that you and your wife do, before COVID, we're doing movie night, and you would go and you had a movie pass, and you would go to a theater with your wife every week, and your 1 week you would pick, and the next week your wife would pick, and so on and everything. And there was a movie that you guys didn't get to see, and I hear you were actually grateful for it because it wasn't very good, at least the first few minutes you saw, which was the 1517 to Paris.
Oh my God.
And
you like that movie?
No, not necessarily.
Well, we almost got in a fight.
No, that's the story I wanted to talk about. So you go to the theater. I know that you were going to go see Black Panther, but you end up you couldn't.
Yeah, we couldn't. So we end up at 1517 to Paris, and listen, I don't really, like you said, I don't know if that movie was good or bad because I never wanted to see it after what happened in that movie theater. We walk into that theater, and it's just down the street from here. We walk into that theater, and now listen, me and my wife, it's not that we're snob or anything, but we really like going to Cine Bistro. I don't know if they have those out there where they serve, you can get a bottle of wine, you can get food. They don't let anybody under 18 in. It's, big recliners. It's only 40 seats in the theater. But that day when we had the movie pass, it doesn't include Cine Bistro. So we end up here at this Regal Cinema over here. And we walk in to see 1517 to the whatever it was called, Paris. And the theater is empty. I mean, there's no one in there. No one. And we sit down, and just as the movie's beginning, this other couple comes in. They could sit anywhere. They sit directly behind us. I mean, this theater is empty. We had been joking the whole time that, this is a private screening. No one's in this movie theater. This is crazy. So they walk in and sit right behind us. The movie has begun, and they're talking like they're in their living room. So I turned around politely and said, hey, can you guys hold it down? This is the movie, not previews. It was like I hadn't spoken. And then, we do a little bit of the mean mugging, like they just kept talking. And it just escalated to a real bad place. Where it was like, it was a lot of cussing and beat your ass and then the guy wasn't as vocal. The worst part is the woman screaming, and I'm like, dude, look around. You could sit anywhere in this fucking movie theater. Sit in the last row, and you guys can talk. We won't even hear you, but you have to sit right behind us and start this. So I go get the manager. I said, we've missed 15 minutes of this movie already during this fight. And I go get the manager. The manager comes in, and all he does is he said, you guys need to be quiet. I said, dude, we've almost gotten in a fist fight. We're close to getting in a fight. And what you're going to do, this 21-year-old manager, was tell them to be quiet, which I've tried nicely, and it's escalated to a point where this isn't good if you walk away from here.
Right.
The kid is like, I don't know what to do. Throw them the fuck out of the movie theater. That's what you can do. And I said, listen, I'm pretty sure they don't even have tickets for this movie. I'm pretty sure they saw another movie because they walked in when this movie started. The kid wouldn't even ask them for their tickets. And I'm like, screw this. He says, don't worry, sir, we'll give you your money back. So they gave us like 4 free tickets. I never saw the movie. It was, believe me, what I'm telling you is a watered down version of how ugly I got that day. I'm surprised it didn't come to blows. And, you know, I think it didn't come to blows because the guy really wasn't as involved as his wife or girlfriend or whatever. She was the catalyst for the whole thing. You know, but yeah, we ended up leaving.
Well, the version I heard was what like they kept telling you to turn around and you
yeah,
keeping your cool for a while, and then finally you stood up and you're an imposing figure. I mean, I mean, the first time I met you, I've got to be honest, I was a little intimidated. You know, for a number of reasons, and your stature certainly being one of them. But I mean, it was just like.
And that's how, you know, listen, the first time it was, I thought when I asked them politely, they were going to stop talking, but they continued. And then it became that turn around. Well, turn around. What do you mean turn around? Shut up. I'd be happy to turn around and watch a movie if you guys would shut up. Yeah, I don't
I can't believe that there's people like that. Like, it just blows my mind. Like, I mean, look, I get that there's people that are inconsiderate, but like when you get called out, like I'd be that guy that got called out and I'd be like, I'd just shut up. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. You're right. Absolutely. And, you know, and I'm a very much stand your ground type of person at the same time, but at the same time, like, I mean, the point's made. Like, yeah, we're not in our living room. I don't talk during movies anyway, but oh God, the whole thing, just like the story.
We went to see what was that war movie? 1917 or something like that.
Right.
Or the one that was all one camera shot through the whole movie. Me and Ceci and Luis and Denise Cuevas, we go see this movie, and the movie theater's packed, and the guy sitting next to Luis, I couldn't see it. I was on one side, Luis was on the other, and the girls were in the middle. And I don't realize that the guy sitting next to Luis kept turning on his phone and the bright light of his phone. The guy's playing on his phone. And Luis said to him, you know, hey man, it's blinding. Can you please not? And the guy was apologetic. Like, where the hell was that? Where
the hell was this guy?
and put his phone away, which is what normal people would do. You're doing something wrong. You get called out on it. Dude, apologize. And, you know, it's like the guy didn't tell Luis, turn around and watch the movie. The guy was like, oh shit, I'm sorry. You know, the movie was awful. So I get it. I wanted to play on my phone.
It's crazy.
But I looked over and I thought, oh, here we go. We're gonna get it. There's gonna be a fight here. There's gonna be a fight here. The guy's like apologizing. I'm like, shit.
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Ceci, but I just have to imagine what her mind was like. Oh God, here we going again? Are we doing this again?
Ceci gives me a lot of shit because Ceci, you know, we had a little bit of a Ceci's visited, I think, 35 of the 50 states, and I am at like 38. And oddly enough, she's visited 35 states, and one of them is not Texas.
Huh.
So she's like, you got to take me to Texas. You got to, and I love Dallas. I love Houston. I love a lot of cities in Dallas, and I've been promising to take her for 3 years and haven't taken her yet. But, you know, when we flew to Amsterdam on vacation, we stopped in Dallas, but that didn't count. Our plane went to Dallas. And then
no, DFW Airport doesn't do Dallas justice, or
no. But yeah, you'll meet her one day. I got to get her out there, or listen when you come down here. I know a lot of guys. La Zona Palooza last time during one of the breaks that everybody went to Caribbean Cigar. I came home, got Ceci, and Ceci went and hung out and met everybody over there. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jack, we're come to the time in our evening where it is the time for our last question, which is our curveball question, which is now brought to you by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. It's the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust Curveball segment. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter. Since the company's inception, Steve Saka has been knocking them out of the park. 5 consecutive years in the consensus top 3. Yeah.
Yes, it's a sweet tip cigar. Is that the question?
No, I had to look that up though. Five consecutive years in the consensus top 3. So this is actually a two-parter. Okay, so the first one is we're talking about Toraño a lot tonight. So okay, no, there's no catch to this. Okay.
Okay.
So if someone said, Jack, we'll give you Toraño back, it's yours. No catch, no hook. It's yours. It's Jack Toraño's. Would you take it?
Wow. Yes. Yes.
I would love to see what you would do. I would love to see what you would do with it.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I believe in that brand, and I think a lot was left on the table with that brand, and we had a lot of great ideas, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I wouldn't take the Toraño brand and tell Eric goodbye. I mean, I think it would quickly become part of Espinosa, so, and be made at La Zona. I can't say I'd love. Listen, I've tried twice, and it hasn't worked out. 3 strikes, you're out. I'd give it another shot, but it'd have to be the right circumstances. And yeah, I mean, listen.
Yeah, if someone handed it to you, I'd love to see. I loved what Charlie and his father did, and it's got its new identity under General. I would just love to see what a Jack Toraño owned Toraño Cigars would do. I like that idea. Like, I don't know. When I was thinking about tonight's curveball question, I was like, I got to ask him this because I would love to see it. I would love to see it.
I would have to secure a lot of financing. I can tell you that much.
No, someone's just giving it to you. That's why it's a curveball segment. No, there's no hook.
Yeah, but it takes money to produce cigars.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay,
a lot of money. So
okay, so on that note, here's the second part of the question. Have you thought about your own brand?
No.
And I know one could argue that Toraño is yours, but no.
Yeah, no. Listen, there's maybe in the future with Espinosa getting to work on a blend with Hector that would be linked to me. And I can tell you that I'd probably bring a lot of the Toraño blends into that planning. I'd love to do a cigar with Arapiraca. It's the Exodus 50 year is Eric's go-to cigar. If he had to smoke one cigar the rest of his life, is Laranja. Mine is probably the Exodus 50 year. I mean, that cigar is just that Brazilian Arapiraca, and that blend is incredible to me and just hits my palate perfect. So I'd love for there to be an Arapiraca in Espinosa's portfolio, and whether it's linked to me or not. I mean, and I know Hector's been looking into that. So my own, no, I have no interest in that. I really don't. I again, you're talking about heavy lifting to start another brand, to start, no, I just turned 60. No, no. I know what goes into it. And a lot of people that tell me that I talked to somebody the other day who is getting into the blogging game and wants to do a podcast and wants to do all these things and doesn't want to hear me trying to discourage them, telling them there's plenty of people out there that are doing it. There isn't a void to be filled in that part of this industry. And then they told me that their end game is they want to have their own cigar brand, and I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just.
I always tell people the FDA killed my dream. That when I first started in cigars, like that was That was my goal, and the FDA killed my dream. I mean, not to mention all the heavy lifting that you're talking about, the finances, all that stuff. Like, it just.
I mean, it takes a lot of marketing. It takes a lot to get that cigar out to people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you know, even at the end of the day, what people don't understand, if you don't have a factory and you're paying a premium for these cigars, and then, you know, you now all of a sudden have a cigar you have to sell for $12 or $13, and who the hell's going to buy, you know, Tom's cigar over any other $12 cigar,
Right?
That has a name. It's not an easy game to break into. You know,
Yeah,
I do like you know, I do like the things that Dojo does. You know, with they just put out the taser,
mm-hmm.
you know, limited release. They get their name out there. You know, they did it with Protocol. They've done it with Aganorsa. They've done it with Espinosa. They've, you know, the psychedelic turtle and all these things. I mean, I think that's a cool way, and you don't have the pressure of sustaining a brand, because that's the difficult part. You know, if you have a name for yourself and you pair with a factory, you can sell 500 10-count bundles.
Yeah.
You know, but sustaining a brand that's a completely different animal, and that's just not an easy thing to do.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, Jack, I can't thank you enough for tonight. And then playing hosts like you're doing now, because you're technically hosting the podcast now, because technology and all its wonder and everything. But I was even thinking about it as we kind of already started the show. I was like, I should have mentioned to Jack that if something like this happens, he's going to be hosting. And but I really appreciate you holding the fort down.
I didn't even know I was still. If I didn't have my phone sitting here, I wouldn't even know I was still live. I was like, holy shit, am I live, or did we just get blasted off? And then I looked over and I saw myself going, am I live? So
no, I pulled it up immediately just to make sure it was me and it wasn't the broadcast. So it worked out really well and everything. But I, again, can't thank you enough for that. Can't thank you enough for tonight, and for all our audience who stayed with us through this through that whirlwind. I really do appreciate it as well. You can catch all of ELOSOFUMAR takes on every Sunday right from this page, except for next Sunday. I'll actually be taking it off, Easter, celebrating my anniversary and my wife's birthday. So
happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. And
how many years is that?
It's 11. It's 11.
Nice.
So
very
we
nice.
Celebrated our 10th and 11th year in the COVID era, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But we're excited to do a little something for it, and we're pumped for that, and I'm definitely excited about some upcoming guests after that. Take 163 and come in on that. If you are listening to this podcast on YouTube, you can also subscribe to that channel. If you are listening to this podcast later on, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure you download, subscribe, and review there. If you are already a subscriber, please unsubscribe, and please don't forget to resubscribe, because that really helps my numbers so that I can continue to get great guests like my guest this evening, Jack Toraño. Jack, once again, thank you so much. So everyone out there,
thank you, brother.
I'm Bear Duplessis, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studios of Euless, Texas. He's Jack Toraño. This was our 162nd take. Guess what, everyone? We'll see you next time.
See you, everybody.